podcast, and I think it's up and running now. It's working. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Wonderful.
My name's Waldo,
And I'm modular.
and we discuss things sometimes.
Yeah, we talk about stuff.
Uh, and I'm still not very good at YouTube, so what I do is I have to come in here, and I edit this out in the videos. So
Wonderful.
I come in here. My name's Waldo. Mute that. Then I get the chat pop out. Copy. If there's a smarter way to do it, I don't know what it is. We go to properties. Delete this.
I
Put it
think a
there.
lot of streamers do like a please wait sort of thing
Yeah.
where it's like, hey, I'm going to be online in 5 minutes. And then like it'll be a splash screen kind of
Mhm.
that just kind of sits there with maybe a little background like licensed music.
Mhm.
Um, and then that's when they do their like whole pop out chat and whatnot
Yeah, that would make
and set up
sense.
everything. Yeah.
Close this too. Hopefully that's not important. So yeah, and then the chat appears, and then I can swap back to this one, and you can see what I'm seeing. And there it is.
Oh God.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Oh, it's real good, boss. This is like the, the only news at the moment.
It is, yeah. Retarded. That's
I
all I
agree.
have to say
It's
about it.
it's madness.
How dumb
Oh,
can
it's
you
so good.
be?
Uh, so Nick Fuentes gets to have dinner with the with Mr. Trump. Oh,
You've got a very spicy ad to the right there as well.
yeah, I know. That one won't go away. That one's on everything I own. I can't imagine why. For some
Huh,
reason,
weird.
the algorithm thinks that I would like that.
Well,
Uh,
it's
can't
supposed to be
imagine
based on your
why.
browsing history.
What? No. I'm being profiled, and I don't like it.
Ah,
Uh, so yeah, they had dinner. Um, Kanye, what's his name? He announces his president. He actually said that he's running for president, which like I think he's gonna get his ass handed to him because of accountants and taxes. You realize that when you say publicly, "I am running for president," a whole bunch of election law starts to kick in,
yep.
and if he doesn't have a good accountant who knows the tax laws and the donation laws, he is going to lose a ton of money and maybe even go to jail.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I do believe the Supreme Court actually did rule that a president has to release his tax returns now.
Oh, did they? Okay, I remembered that they gave Trump's taxes to the Democrats investigating him, um, and nothing's leaked yet. Wouldn't surprise me if something does. Uh, they
There it
really don't
is.
like that guy.
Supreme Court orders Trump's tax returns to be turned over to House Democrats.
Okay, yeah,
So, wow. All right.
but yeah, because they're investigating him, trying to find out if he like took money from people uh, illegally, and I mean it's possible. Um,
Right.
oh
But yeah,
yeah.
the Fuentes and Ye news.
Oh, did you see who's
Um,
running Ye's campaign?
is it Fuentes?
No, it's Milo Yiannopoulos.
You're fucking kidding me.
No.
Oh my God.
Shit poster supreme, you know?
Wow.
So he's got just the A team on it, you know? Milo and
I also
Fuentes.
heard that
It's
Ye asked Trump to be his vice president.
yeah, he did, and apparently Trump didn't like that, so he yelled at him. Um, very unhappy. So yeah, it's gonna be
He unexpectedly showed up with three of his friends, whom I know nothing about.
yeah. That's how you have to play it. You have to I think what's her name? Maytag, MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. had went to an event put on by Fuentes as well, and she had to pretend that she didn't know who he was, and I don't believe her. Don't believe her for a second. She knows exactly who he is, and she just likes him. There he is. Hooray! Um,
Look at that jawline, though. I wish I had a jawline like
is he classically masculine? Is that what it is? All right.
that. But
Uh,
yeah, gosh, definitely not the guy you want at anything associated with you at all.
I know.
Jesus,
Yeah. Uh,
that's a fucking disaster. I feel so
campaign would
bad
be
for the Trump
managed by Milo
campaign
Yiannopoulos.
team.
There he is. Yeah, that's the campaign team from hell, isn't it?
Yeah,
God, shit posters and neo Nazis. It's gonna be great.
I don't
He's
know.
gonna
I
get
don't think it goes very far.
so many votes. Uh,
Uh,
so many votes.
you think Ye will actually be on the campaign like presidential debate stage?
I don't know honestly. Um, when it comes to the primaries, they'll let anybody on there. Um, the
Goodness gracious, that would be a spectacle for the ages. Might get better ratings than NFL football.
I know, and that's the problem though, is that it gets the ratings, and then the news goes nuts for it, and then they start watching literally every single thing that Kanye says, and they start covering him almost entirely, and then he wins in Pennsylvania. Like, I don't know what to make of it.
This definitely makes things a little more interesting for 2024.
Well,
Um,
I don't, I don't know. When when the Republican primaries start, I don't think Kanye's going to be involved in it. I think he's going to run as a third party. There's going to be something that prevents him or someone that prevents him, and he won't be on the stage with the rest of the Republican primary voters, including Trump. Uh, he'll run as a third party. Who votes for him though? What? Who does he spoil? Whose votes does he steal? You know, well, I mean, the Green Party takes the left votes. You know, the Libertarians tend to take from the right, and then that ruins the right's chances of winning. And the Green Party and Ralph Nader uh, specifically gave us George W. Bush. Um,
I think Kanye steals votes from both parties. Actually,
that's what I'm thinking. He steals a little bit
it's
from
gonna
both
be
sides.
he'll get a lot of the black vote
Hmm.
because he's Kanye West,
Hmm.
you know. Um, but he'll also he'll take a lot of the anti-Semitic vote, like the
Yeah,
far right vote.
he'll get the Q guys. You know,
Yeah. Well,
because
the Q
because I think
guys are mostly just dumb boomers.
the
He'll
Q
he'll
tards
he'll get the
are gonna turn on Trump. I think
he'll
they're
get
abandoning him.
the possibly. I mean, he um isn't supposed to be as right as Ye has gone, but he wasn't supposed to be as middle of the road as he was when he was president.
Hmm.
And I think the Q people did not like that. So, but I don't think that they're going to go all the way to the distance of where Ye's at. Like I said, there a lot of Q people are boomers. They're just gullible boomers.
Yeah, maybe they could stop being gullible boomers. That'd be nice. Did you watch
Uh, well,
the episode of The Simpsons about conspiracy theories? Came out a few months ago, I think. Or
I
maybe
did
not.
not. I haven't
Okay.
watched The Simpsons in over a
Okay.
decade.
Well, it was interesting. I'll look up some quotes from it because it was pretty good. It was definitely directed directly at Q tards. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, two more weeks is now a meme over at Poll.
uh, Kanye says, "My question would be why, when you had the chance, did you not free the January Sixers? So free them so that they can continue, I suppose, attacking the country." So he'd be more in favor of violent overthrows. Hooray!
Yeah, I mean, in the case of the January Sixers, I think there is something there, in terms of or that's a little bit concerning, and maybe it's not even true, but uh, my understanding is that there has been a sort of a lack of due process there, where there are people that are still in prison right now for that event without having gone to trial.
Oh, yeah, that's the very slow justice system. The justice system moves kind of slow, and and if that is true, I think it's because they don't know who planned it, and they're still waiting on this whole Trump thing to drop. Does Because if Trump gets charged with sedition, that changes the crime that those January 6th people committed, doesn't it?
Possibly, but at the
So,
same time, I mean, held without bail, um, haven't had their trial yet. I think that that's definitely a violation of due process at that point, right?
yeah, it very well could be. Um,
Which is a little concerning to me. But I mean, I don't support what they did, but at the same time, I would like to see them actually have their day in court.
uh, and I agree with you. I wish we could, but if we aren't sure what happened yet, I mean, we know what happened, but we're not sure what we're going to call it. Uh, that makes it hard to try people. I mean, imagine if they already had their trial, and then Donald Trump gets uh, acquitted of sedition or something along those lines. That changes what they're. I mean, they'd have to do an appeal at that point, I suppose. So the appeals process could still work. Imagine if the the foot soldier, the guy on the ground, gets charged with sedition, but then Trump isn't seditious. Could they not then do an appeal and say, "Hey, I wasn't doing sedition"? Possible. I assume that's why they're waiting, but I haven't heard anything about it.
Well,
I can look into it.
for most states, and I just Googled it,
Hmm.
once you're placed in custody, your rights typically require the prosecutor to decide charges within 72 hours.
Mm, okay.
So they should have charges already. If no charges are filed, then you should be released. And these guys are now 2 years into being in jail, and either there's no charges or they haven't been to court for the charges that have been decided upon,
Okay.
which is really fucked up.
Hmm. Uh, West says, since we know, and all the Christians in America that love Trump know that Trump is a conservative, we're going to demand that you hold all policies directly to the Bible. Oh, good. Biblical policy. It's going to be great. See, I love it when Republicans talk policy. Here we go.
Yeah, Kanye is a fucking crazy person, though. I
I know
mean,
he's a lunatic.
uh,
Why? Uh, I, I mean, conservatism is tied directly with the Bible. I mean, the two are un, unable to get unbound. I mean, you can't be one without the other, right?
well, sure you can.
Can't. I've never met one person
Hello,
who was
my name is Modular
okay. You're a conservative
and an atheist.
and an atheist.
Yep.
Okay, great. Um, okay, so I've met one.
Yeah, you talk to me every week.
I know. All right, all right. Never met another one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have interesting views on religion. It's I think that people sort of wrote a guide for society a long time ago.
right. It was a list of rules and
Um,
things you shouldn't do, and that makes
and
sense.
there's yeah, I mean, why is it against certain religions to eat pork, for example? Well, probably some people ate pork and died,
They were filled
and
with
they were like,
parasites and
yeah,
disease
exactly. They
2,000
didn't
years
cook
ago.
it
They were filthy
properly,
little
and then
monsters. Yeah.
1500 years later, we figured out, oh shit, if we actually cook this, we can make bacon, and then it isn't gonna kill us,
Hmm.
right? Like, that's so we changed our methods there,
Or
right?
values. Yeah.
Our values, right? Um, so yeah, I think that uh, over the course of centuries, sort of, lessons are learned and they get put into religion, and some of them aren't great, some of them are good.
Yeah, they've been outgrown. You know.
Yeah. Um, what lessons we still take from religion is up for debate. But yeah, the idea that we would adhere strictly to the Bible, which was a guidebook for society 2,000 years ago, is maybe
Hmm.
not the best idea today. And I do think that pandering to an evangelical base is probably not the strategy going forward anyway. They don't really have a choice in terms of who they vote for because you either vote for the Republicans, who are at least somewhat religious, religiously minded, or you vote Democrat, who, by all accounts, are not. So
Hmm.
I don't think that even if you started to move away from religion, I don't think that they would have a choice, unless they think that the welfare is about like the spending that the Democrats propose is in line with giving to others, but that's not supposed to be compelled
Hmm.
according to the Bible. And then as well, there's the whole abortion thing and whatnot.
Hmm.
But I don't see that being a motivator for people on the right anymore, or even for religious people. It The abortion debate has pretty much just been it has been exhausted. It seems like.
Oh, it's still chaos. Um, Once Roe v. Wade got overturned, the states all enacted their own rules, and the rules getting shot down by senators, and then not senators, by judges, and then other judges bring it back, and then if I remember correctly, Florida had like a rule, and then it got struck down by a judge, and then it got re-uploaded by a judge, and then it got struck down by a judge again. It's absolute bedlam. It's chaos. It is the opposite of law and order. It is
Well, maybe through the legal system, yeah. No, I mean
chaos.
in terms of voters though, I don't think that
The voters,
abortion
yeah,
is
the voters
it's
all
not a driver
approve it.
to the polls uh for people that are against abortion anymore. I don't see people going to the polls for in order to be against abortion. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, they're a very small minority, but they they're they're pretty certain. But again, they vote for people who do abortions. Look at Herschel Walker. You know, he's
Yeah. Yeah, I
still
don't.
the Republican nominee who is anti-abortion, even though he's done a few.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, and I don't know that
he's
being anti-abortion actually helps him at all. So,
well, there's some people who are going to vote for him just because he says he is. It doesn't matter if he is or not. He just says he is. Uh,
sure.
that's I get that feeling more from Republicans than I do from Democrats. Yes, Democrats can and do lie, but I get it. I see it more often with people like this. Look at this guy. He was tricked into voting for the Marriage Equality Act. Scott Perry. Democrats tricked him into voting for it. Derp. If that's true, I don't think it's true. Then he's too stupid to be a
That's a
representative.
terrible look. What the
Yeah,
hell?
he
Either you
doesn't.
voted for it on purpose. You didn't. If you get tricked into voting for something, you really shouldn't be on the floor. I'm sorry.
He's either too stupid or he's lying because when he said this, he was speaking to who was he speaking to? Tony Perkins, the head of the anti-LGBT hate group, the Family Research Council. Uh, so when he's talking to Tony Perkins, he needs an excuse. He needs a reason. Tony Perkins is holding his feet to the fire and says, "Hey, why'd you vote for this thing that we don't like?" And he's like, "Oh, I got tricked. Derp. I'm too stupid." But if he were in front of a bunch of voters, he would say, "Oh yeah, I voted for it because it's the right thing to do." It tricks people. You don't want to be racist, but you're not against traditional marriage. That's a stupid sentence, but he wants
That
the
doesn't. That's a non sequitur. What the fuck, Perry? What are you doing?
the act that
You
he
don't
did
want to
vote
be a
for.
racist, but you're not against traditional marriage. That those two things don't.
Well, they were both in the
They're
same
they're.
bill. The bill did codify gay marriage and multiracial marriage because there were still a few states that didn't have that on the books. Uh, so that's how it tricked him. Is he wants interracial marriage, but he doesn't want the gay marriage, and so he doesn't know what to do, and so he votes for it, and he got tricked.
Well, it's not about being against traditional marriage either, though.
I know it's not,
It's about
but
being in favor of gay marriage or not.
that's what Tony Perkins sees it as. He sees this as a absolute assault on religious liberty.
Well, you I really we've at this point we've turned marriage into a function of the government rather than a function of religion.
It always has been. Yes, I agree.
Um, well, it used to be a function of religion, but that was when everybody in the country was religious.
Mm,
Um,
I don't think it's been a function of religion since the founding of the country. Honestly,
if you say so.
when did marriage
Um, but
licenses get invented? I
but
should
people
Google
got
that.
married in the churches, right? It was a marriage under God, and now it's a marriage under the state. Is what I'm saying. So
Uh, yes, I'm saying rotation. Marriage licenses have been required since 1639 in Massachusetts. That's a
sure,
long ass time ago. I would say that's when it stopped being a religious thing. That you go to the religion to do the ceremony, sure. Hell, even I was married in a church, but uh, that isn't necessary. You,
right.
if you go and you
It's not
fill out the
necessary.
paperwork,
You
it's
just
not
go,
necessary
you
at all.
go fill out the paperwork, right?
Yeah, that
So
that cements it, I think,
that's
as a
fine.
state
Now,
issue.
in this bill, does it require a church to recognize or to perform a ceremony for a
No,
gay marriage, for example?
no, it doesn't.
Well, then it doesn't violate religious freedom, does
No, it doesn't.
it?
That's why these guys are wrong. Yeah, you're right. The, it, the there is one tiny issue within the bill that exists is that states don't have to uh, perform them statewide anyway. Worst case scenario, you live in Tennessee, and uh, two people of the same gender want to marry each other. They have to drive to a more liberal state to do it. And when they get back, the state of Tennessee accepts it. Um, so, I mean,
That's a bit of an inconvenience, but
it's inconvenience, and I know that it's an inconvenience, but baby steps. We have to, like you and I discussed last time, I have to drag uh, the people on the right forward, kicking and screaming. This guy, Mr. Perry here, needs to be slowly dragged, kicking and screaming into the future, because he won't go.
he's just a dumbass.
Yeah,
I don't know if that it's a matter of not wanting to go to the future or not, but he's just dumb.
cool. Glad we agree. Uh-oh. Emboldened Biden. Dems push ban on so-called assault weapons.
Yeah, those guys are dumb fucks too.
Yeah, I don't think this is a good idea. Why are we agreeing today? We're supposed to argue. Um, this doesn't seem like a good idea. Um, Colorado and Virginia. Oh yeah, the, I think Virginia did actually pass something or suggest that they want to sign a thing. Uh, semi semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick, just sick. I'm gonna try and get rid of assault weapons, says Joe Biden.
Ridiculous. What the fuck is an assault weapon?
That's I know, I agree that it's dumb. He, no matter what the definition comes down to,
All
gun.
weapons are made for assault of some
I know
kind.
they only
They're
do one
weapons.
thing. They only do one thing. This thing doesn't turn screws in your IKEA furniture. It doesn't microwave burritos. It doesn't put nails into walls. It doesn't, I don't know, turn bolts by applying pressure. It
Yes,
it
this is
just
meant
kills
to
people.
launch pieces of metal at
Yeah,
very high speed.
I agree. The,
That's what it
they
does.
aren't they aren't tools. Uh, you can kill a guy with a hammer. I have a hammer back there. You could kill a guy with a hammer, but a hammer also drives nails. You could kill somebody with a screwdriver, but a screwdriver also turns screws. I mean, there's only one thing that these do. And the I don't think banning them or banning certain parts, because that's what the liberals love to do, right? Is to call something an assault rifle because it has a certain grip or a certain magazine, and then the people who are very excited about guns just change the grip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how it goes, and it's dumb. It's the people that write this legislation don't know guns anyway.
I know. Yeah,
I
you're right.
mean, you've seen that clip of the guy talking about the ghost gun, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, what an idiot. Um, and then he's gonna write legislation about something which he knows nothing about.
Right.
But then you've got Biden here, and the definition of assault weapon that Biden has just given is a semi-automatic weapon,
Hmm.
which is uh-oh, because that's the most narrow definition of an assault weapon that's been given to date.
Hmm.
Uh, if you were to ban semi-automatic weapons, you're talking about the remaining weapons that you could have would be a shotgun, um, or
Revolver
a
pistols. Yeah.
revolver, a flintlock sort of pistol. You're talking about um, a very limited set of weapons. Although I don't know if you want all storekeepers and shop owners and personal home defenders to have shotguns. I mean, if you've seen what a slug of a shotgun does to somebody, you're not surviving that. Like a shotgun slug will blow an entire head off. Uh,
Yeah.
like there are some people that can come back from a bullet wound. You're not coming back from a shotgun wound. It's not happening.
Yeah.
The
It's
the the
not the
slugs
way to go about
especially.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is not the way to go about it. Banning assault weapons just gets you a list of things that they can't use, bump stocks, that kind of crap. Um,
Yeah, we've already
the
banned automatic weapons. So, okay,
yeah,
anything that makes a weapon automatic or
yeah,
faux automatic
they'll just find a way
uh
around it.
should be banned. But semi-automatic, I don't think should be banned. I think those are perfectly fine. It's one trigger pull, one bullet,
Mm-hmm.
right? Uh,
And yeah, I
Now,
don't.
If Biden's proposing a semi-automatic weapons ban, that's not going to make it through legislation. It's just not. And if it does, I think that spends years in court.
Mm-hmm. And then even then the Dems lose because they right hits them with it over and over and over again.
Yeah, really,
It's
really dumb thing for Biden to
it's
say.
not a winning thing for them. Um, what do you suggest we do instead?
What do you mean? What do I suggest we do?
I mean, to stop the shooters. The guy who walked into the gay club and opened fire last week.
Well, I think that we've got a societal problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about what the I haven't looked into the guy that went and shot up that gay club, but
Oh, he's special.
well, what do you mean special?
Oh, he's hard right, and in a shit poster style is claiming to be um, non-binary now, and I think this is gonna get worse. I think a lot more people are gonna follow his lead. I think powered by uh, Laura Boebert, Lauren Boebert, and Maytag, they're gonna shoot up the gay places and then claim to be non-binary and or queer, and
Interesting.
it's just shit posting. Honestly, they shoot the place up first, and then they shit post. Uh, his
I suppose we'll find out.
yeah,
I think that I mean, yeah, there is a certain uh, risk of people becoming radicalized, but we're living in a radical society right now.
Yeah, I think so.
People have been divided quite a bit more than they were 20 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, but in addition to that, a lot of our shooters these days are sort of disaffected individuals.
Hmm.
They're not participants in society. A lot of them, of a great number of them, come from broken homes.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Um, I mean, I without looking into this guy, so I don't know what his backstory is really. But I understand that most of the shooters these days are coming from places where they don't have a father.
Oh,
Um,
they interviewed his dad. His dad is a porn star who is a hard right conservative and hates gay people. Uh,
wow, that is a collection of
of word. Yeah, it's a collection, isn't
words that I did not expect to hear today.
it? um, and his grandfather is a an elected Republican, state Republican, who
Oh God.
might have gotten felony charges thrown out. Uh, he built bombs, threatened his mother with weapons, and had like 7 felony charges that all got dismissed.
So the guy's a crazy person.
Yeah, I know. He's he's a crazy person.
Well, I will say one of Ronald Reagan's worst mistakes after amnesty was closing the asylums.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, that was it. Saved money though. Uh, saved
Jesus
government
Christ.
money, you know.
We
And
we really need to bring those back.
yeah,
We
let's
need
put them
those
back into.
institutions.
Yeah, let's do it. Um, then they would be getting that would be considered healthcare, right?
Yeah,
Okay, and the state pays for it,
sure.
or the
But
federal
it's
government
also to
pays for
keep
it.
the
Yeah,
crazy people away from
I know.
the well-adjusted people.
Okay, so one step closer to universal healthcare. I love it.
Sure. Yeah, let's bring the asylums back.
Yeah, we see. There you go. We can solve this problem. Launch universal healthcare. Pay for it.
Bring
Bring the asylums back. And if you, and I would go as far as if you want one of these weapons, you have to get a note from your doctor. And doctors are free now, so just go in there.
You have to get a note from your doctor as in like, hey, this person's not a crazy person.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, if we bring the asylums back, they'll all be in the asylum. So
Right, but when this shooter goes to get his note, his doctor says, "God no, you can't have that note. In fact, I'm suggesting that you go to this healthcare facility, this mental health care facility," and then he would be in the asylum. I think this solves all our problems. You have to get a doctor's note before you can get a gun license.
hmm.
And if it is, as the Republican senators keep telling me, a mental health problem, well, then doctors need to be involved. If Republicans keep telling me mental health, mental health, mental health problems, then doctors need to be involved. They need to be the solution.
Well, I think that we sort of look past the fact that it is a mental health problem, and we're trying to look at the causes of the mental health problems, which is why I say it's a societal issue, right?
I mean, if you have a mental health problem, you ought to see a doctor. If the I don't agree that banning them is a good idea, but if you give people mental health options to see a doctor and get treated, if this kid walks in to get his license and the doctor's like, no, you got all these issues. Here's some medication. Here's some uh, referral to a therapist. Like we could have prevented it.
It sounds I have to do some research on this
Okay.
and think about it a lot. It sounds like something that I sort of bristle at instinctively.
Okay.
Um, in terms of it gives somebody else control over what you can and cannot do with your rights. Um, Like you're placing the control of that in the hands of a doctor.
Yeah,
You are hmm,
because if
doing that naturally would require that you move towards ceding additional control, in the form of we have to nationalize healthcare,
right,
or if we
which
don't, then you
yeah,
have to pay for the doctor's visit
right, I
in order to
agree.
get the note, and then
I
you get the gun.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you have to pay for that doctor's visit, then guns become a thing that poor people can't access, and I don't think that's a good idea. So we'll need to have the federal government pay for all those things, and
Well,
that
see,
is part of
you that's
universal health
part
care.
of where my I'm not in favor there,
I
but
know.
yeah, that's a whole topic right there. We'll have to talk about that some other time because I
Okay,
did not come prepared for that.
that's fine. No, that's good. That is just my idea anyway. My basic spitball idea is get your and yeah, you have to go to your Obamacare doctor before you can buy a gun. I love the idea. Uh, uh,
Christ.
what's next? Oh, Herschel Walker might have committed election fraud
Nice.
because he lives in Texas. Uh, his home is Texas, but he's running for Senate in Georgia. This is fantastic. Like, God, if all his other nonsense wasn't bad enough, like,
Well, it's always darkest just before the dawn.
so yeah, he has uh, said 1,000 stupid things, but also, according to 2020 Georgia Code, residents of the state can be rescinded if an individual moves to another state with the intention of making such a person's residence. So yeah, he has claimed on his taxes that his residence is Texas, yet in this election he is claiming residence in Georgia. So he'll still get a lot of Republican votes. It'll be great. um, so what else do we got? We got yeah. So yeah, this is more on the gun stuff. Uh, what do you think of red flag laws?
It depends on how they're implemented.
I agree.
Um, I mean, we just talked about Nick Fuentes
Hmm.
a bit ago,
Hmm.
and I do know that one of his chief complaints about our system is that he was put on no-fly lists.
Hmm.
Um, there's no due process for that.
For the
Like,
no-fly list, I agree. There is no due process for that.
yeah, I mean, if red flag laws are implemented in the same way that no-fly lists are, no, that I absolutely uh am against that. Um, if you get if you have a red flag, oh, you'd have to. It depends on what the red flags are, but there should be a way to appeal them. Um, you
Yeah.
can't just put somebody on a random list and then take away their ability to exercise their Second Amendment right.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
What if you were arrested for felony menacing and kidnapping charges in a case that was later dropped?
Why was it dropped?
Nobody really knows yet.
Well,
Um,
that's kind of important.
the extreme leftists are saying because his grandpa was a elected Republican, but nobody's sure of that yet. And I think it's like sealed within the court or something like that, so we don't know. It might come out later, but um,
This sounds like a special case almost.
yeah.
Like, I mean, you've got an elected official that's trying to pull strings and whatnot. Like, this is not your normal situation, right?
Hmm.
I think laws are generally developed for the broad strokes. This is not one of them.
Okay. So this guy fits in between all the Swiss cheese holes, right? Accidentally.
Yeah, well, when you've got a lawmaker that's behaving in a corrupt fashion, that's going to create holes, isn't it?
Hmm.
Like those charges were dropped. Why? I want to know why they were dropped. Did he actually kidnap somebody? Did he like
Yeah. Um, Hypothetically, if they
because
were
we
correct,
already
like
we
they're.
already have laws that
Mhm,
like it says he was arrested on felony menacing and kidnapping charges. And
mhm,
we already have laws that say, hey, if you are convicted of a felony, you can't buy a gun.
mhm,
So the system was broken there, except for the fact that this guy potentially had a state lawmaker writing checks or making phone calls on his
mhm,
behalf.
mhm.
So, this is not a normal case.
Yeah, that's what is
Uh,
alleged at the moment. But it hasn't been proven, so that's still alleged. Want to be fair. Um, but they didn't do an extreme risk protection order, ERPO, is what they call them. Do you think this is an acceptable idea, though? Somebody um, triggers the red flag, and then the cops go in to take guns. I don't like that idea because cops storming in to take your guns leads to people getting shot.
yeah, it does because they're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. Um, what would cops do if they knew a felon had guns in their house? Would they storm in and kick open the door and take them?
Depends.
I don't.
They would have to get a warrant first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then if they had the warrant, they knew that the felon was or had guns in the house, and yeah, there would probably be a SWAT team that comes and takes the
Okay.
guns.
Okay.
And if the felon shoots back, well,
Yeah. Now
guess
he's.
what?
Yeah.
Now he's dead.
Getting shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. So. Yeah. I think you're right. The red flag red flag laws aren't well set up right now, and the sheriff's office isn't even using them.
Right. Well,
So it's only going to
like I said,
cause
we sort
more
of already
issues.
have red flag laws, right? They're called felonies.
Well, you have to be.
Like,
Yeah.
if you get convicted of one, you don't get a gun anymore.
Okay.
But
And.
the idea that you can just be put on a list and then now you lose one of your rights, that's
Hmm,
totally ridiculous to me.
they're not putting people on the
Um,
list. I mean, the cops are
if
the people putting them on the list. If I were drafting up a red flag law, it would just be the uh, local and state police that are allowed to put your name on that list, and then there
Sure,
would
and
be
that should
differing
still be something that you
levels.
can appeal.
Yeah, and then you can
Like
appeal it.
if you
Yeah.
have a red flag, there should be like a board. You should be able to go before to talk with them, be
Hmm.
like, why do you want a gun, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
But there needs to be some sort of oversight to prevent the abuse of that power, and it definitely needs to be something that has a certain degree of gosh of uh what's the word
Believability,
when you go through the court system, um
liability,
not liability. It starts with an L.
litigation,
Litigious. Yeah, there's a certain
litigious. Yeah,
degree of litigation that
litigiousness. Yeah.
goes on there. Yeah.
Okay. What
You should be able to litigate it.
what if you
You
made
know,
a homemade bomb?
isn't that a felony?
I think so.
Pretty sure it's a felony to make a homemade bomb.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe he was just accused of making a homemade bomb. I don't know. Here's how the law is supposed to work.
I'd,
Law
I'd,
enforcement
I'd,
and family members can petition a judge to order the temporary removal of someone's firearms. So it has to go before a judge. And then the cops have to go in there and take them. If the order is granted, the judge must rule within 14 days whether to extend or the seizure period and prevent the person from purchasing more guns for up to 364 days. The judge is required to determine whether evidence is clear and convincing in weighing whether a person is a significant risk to themselves or others when deciding whether to extend the ERPO. Hmm. I think this gets back to what we were talking about earlier, that you can't seize guns to prevent the problem.
No.
Okay. What if you set off a red flag law and you're not allowed to buy any more guns until you go to your Obamacare doctor and get a note?
Again, it depends on what the red flag law actually is.
Yeah, if you're
The
maybe
the way it's written, the things that they prohibit. Um, I mean,
if you were, let's say, arrested, not completely found guilty, but arrested for uh, making homemade bombs and threatening people and possible kidnapping, would the judge say, okay, now you got the ERPO and you have to go through a doctor to get a license?
I
Would
think
you
that
would you be okay with that?
if you're arrested for making homemade bombs and kidnapping people,
But it was not. But let's imagine that they were over exaggerating, or you're found not guilty of those things. So is that possible? Hey, you've been arrested for making homemade bombs. You're accused of making homemade bombs and kidnapping, but it was just overreaction, and you're found not guilty. Do you think that person should have to go to a medical appointment to get their gun license back?
you no,
Okay,
but in the way that you phrase it, no.
because they were
But
found not guilty.
well, because yeah, in this case, it went to trial.
Hmm.
They were found not guilty, so which means that all of the evidence has been looked at. Um, if you are cleared of the charges, then no, you shouldn't be on that list, right? But this guy was not cleared of those charges. Somebody pulled strings to get the charges dropped, but that is not the same thing as being um. And now I'm forgetting another word. Starts with an A.
Acquitted.
Uh, Acquitted of
Yes.
charges, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Like, there's a very detailed conversation to be had there. It's I don't think crazy people should have guns, but where we put crazy people on where we draw that line is definitely up for debate. And then on
Yeah.
top of that is the fact that if we do have a point where someone's not allowed to exercise a right of theirs, then we need to have a certain amount of due process for that. It's
Got to be good reasoning. Okay.
exact right. It's got to be um there's got to be a lot of thought put into it, and there needs to be the ability to appeal it, I think. So
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. Uh, what do we got next? Sarah
I don't
Palin
think that
loses. Oh, sorry. You
I,
want to go
I
ahead?
don't think that the push right now. I think that the whole push for sensible gun control is a sort of a red herring. I think that the Democrats really do, like Joe Biden was saying, just they straight up just want to ban um, weapons.
Hmm.
So I do think that the whole argument is almost one that's used as bait. Whereas I see what they actually want to do, and
Hmm.
and Biden kind of let it slip. Like he wants to ban all semi-automatic weapons,
Hmm.
straight up. Well, I'm totally not in favor of that.
Okay.
So there is that sort of argument to be had as well. Is do we ban all semi-automatic weapons? I say no. Um, the but these sort of red flag laws sound like they're sort of used to sort of beat around the bush. where I guess my question is, where do you stand on that?
I think the idea of, I mean, you have to go through your. I would love a universal health care. Go to your doctor to get your gun license. You have to go there, you have to get it signed, then you take it and you can get your gun license. And then if things come up like being arrested for making bombs and kidnapping, your gun license gets shut down and you have to go back and get another assessment through your medical provider. And that medical provider would have to refer you to
Okay, so you're
mental
not in
thing.
favor of
And
a full ban on semi-automatic
no, I
weapons.
don't think that works. I'm all right with the spirit of what they want to do. They want to stop people killing each other with these guns, and that's fine. I understand that, but you don't get it by doing the ban. I agree with the Democrats' goal, just not their means. Their means are wrong. Uh, Banning the guns isn't going to solve the problem. If it is a mental problem, then you have to have mental solutions. And banning assault rifles doesn't work. Whatever you use to define it, the uh, gun people, I'm not going to call them gun nuts, but some of them are, but someone will change the grip. They'll change the spring loading within the clip. They'll change the bump stock so that it isn't within that definition any longer. They'll shave an inch off of the barrel and it's no longer an assault rifle under the whatever description the Democrats create. So
Right.
uh, they are doing a bad job. uh, if they would just pass universal health care, we could solve the actual problem. But they're scared to do that too, because half of the Democrats are in the pockets of the insurance industry.
Uh, you keep bringing it back to this universal healthcare.
Because I
I'm
think
gonna
that
push
solves
back,
the
but
problem. Yeah.
we can have that conversation another time. I am not prepared to have it right now.
Okay. Um, that's all right. I think it would solve the problem. Do I want Biden to pass an assault weapons ban? No, I don't think it helps. I don't think it does what he thinks it does.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's a band-aid over a greater problem.
Yeah. Moving on. What do we got? We got Sarah Palin lost because of ranked choice voting. Let's see. I think neither of the Republicans had 50%, and then the ranked choice goes. They drop the lowest guy, and then the ranked choice didn't bring them a Republican. It brought them this lady.
So it sounds like the ranked choice split the vote for the Republicans.
Well, the Republicans didn't have 50% once you did the first round, and in ranked choice, what happens is you do everybody's first choice, right? And if nobody has 50.1%, they dump the guy at the bottom who was first on the fewest number of people. Then those people who voted for him first go to their second choice, and those second choices go into the groups. And it put this lady, a Democrat, over 50.1%.
Right. So what it sounds like is there were a number of people that were voting for the guy that tried to primary Sarah Palin
Mm-hmm.
that straight up did not want Sarah Palin in office. And so
Possibly,
their
yes.
second choice was this Democrat lady.
Yes.
And so they voted. So the Republican guy that ran against her split the vote for the Republicans, um, which then caused this person to win that seat.
Right. Which now Republicans are going to be against uh, uh, this voting system now.
Well, there's a strategy to it, right? I mean, you could have a person, you could even have me, right? I
Mm-hmm.
could run as a Democrat somewhere with ranked choice voting and rile up all the more radical Democrat voters and split their vote. And then
How
the
would you
question
get?
would be,
How would radical Democrat voters vote for you?
well, I could just pretend that I'm Waldo and advocate for things like universal health care and
Uh-huh.
all sorts of things, and try to out left the left candidate.
That doesn't sound like it would work. Run me through the plan one more time. There are how many people are in this race? This hypothetical race? Three.
3, maybe 4.
Okay. Do I
Depends
have to?
on whether the same thing is happening to the Republican.
Okay. So there's three Republicans, maybe.
Maybe, but one of them is running as a Democrat. Like I'm trolling a little bit here.
Okay.
Uh, you don't have to draw the
No,
boxes.
don't draw the boxes. Okay. All
No,
right.
no, no.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
I don't think it would work that way, but
no,
the
I'm
the
spitballing a little bit
idea,
and
yeah,
trolling a little bit.
the
It's a little
idea.
bit of I could see a way that you could sort of start to electioneer things, um, where you're gonna start seeing a lot more extra candidates in certain races
Hmm.
that are only there to sort of try to split votes, is
Okay.
what I'm saying, right?
And and what does a Republican do in that situation if they think that's coming? If they want to head that off, what would they do? I suggest that they would move to the center.
Do they move to the center? Maybe. Uh,
And if a left-wing person was facing that, would they not also move to the center?
Also, maybe it really depends on the district.
Okay.
Um, Sarah Palin probably lost because she's Sarah Palin.
Well, she's only in the race because she's Sarah Palin. She got 49% of the vote or something because she's Sarah Palin.
Yeah. So a lot of people. I mean, her name though is very divisive,
Hmm.
right? A lot of people were probably turned off just by the fact that she was running in the first place. But the ones that do like her did vote for her.
Hmm.
Just wasn't 50%.
Okay. Um,
And everybody else voted against Sarah Palin. So you've that's what it is when you have a candidate that people really don't like, they're going to vote against them.
okay.
So they voted for the Republican uh, person that ran against Sarah Palin, and also they voted for the Democrat as their second choice because the Democrat was not Sarah Palin.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
it sort of got rid of a candidate that they very much didn't like.
So you in favor of this new wild voting system?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know I've sort of taken a cursory look at it in the past and been like, okay, yeah, maybe. That sounds good.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's a good
you could
idea.
probably
I think
you
it'll.
could probably pull up old Discord logs of me saying like, yeah, I think this might be a good idea.
Okay.
I could be in favor of this, but in terms of whether I would advocate for it, I that's another thing I have to actually think about. These are topics that would be an entire stream.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I like
I
the
certainly
idea
don't
of
like
ranked choice voting.
our first past the post
Yeah.
system at all. But I don't know what the best alternative to it would be. Ranked choice voting is an option,
Hmm.
but I don't know if it's the best option. So, but yes, I do think that our system needs changes. I just don't know if ranked choice voting is the change, right?
I think that it would make a little bit less extremism. Honestly. If that problem you're suggesting, I think it would, like I said, I think it would bring people closer to the middle. Not that the middle is the right answer, but the flexibility to move towards the middle is valuable, I think, in a uh, elected official. Uh, Solid, unceasing, inflexibility, always my side, doesn't help in the Senate or in the House. Nothing gets done. You get gridlock in that situation. We Everybody claims that they want them to reach across the aisle to the other side, but how are you going to do that when only the most zealous people can win primaries?
Yeah, I do think that people are also looking for a little bit of zealotry these days. They don't want someone as far right as Ye or Nick Fuentes or Milo, but they're looking for somebody that isn't going to be, I suppose, to use 2016 terms, a cuck, right?
Okay.
They don't want a John Kasich.
They don't want
They
somebody to.
want somebody that will come in and actually make a difference.
They want the strong man. Okay.
Yeah,
Somebody.
they also want an AOC, right? They want a Bernie Sanders.
Well, I like them because I think they're correct, uh,
Well,
and they don't
they're also
quit.
people that
Yeah, I
are
get you. Yeah.
you see what I'm saying then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is okay.
I don't. What I don't want is what's her name, Cinema, who literally protests with the Green Party. She's surrounded by the Green Party. She's doing protests before she's elected, and then once she's elected, she just becomes the Democrats' worst nightmare and votes right on a lot of things. It's Cinema is kind of a turncoat. You don't want a turncoat. So I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, well, you want a guy that has principles and sticks by them, right? Like if Cinema was protesting with the Green Party and then got elected and then immediately voted in favor of tons of fossil fuels and just you know deregulation in that area, well, where are the principles there, right?
She's become a
You
turncoat at
want
that point.
somebody that has very strong opinions
Hmm.
that can't be bought, and at the very least, you know, candidates like Trump in 2016, candidates like AOC, they seem to be that way, right? They on the surface, candidates like Bernie Sanders, they
Hmm.
appear to be unbuyable. They appear to be uh, convicted, right?
Hmm.
Or they have conviction,
Conviction.
I should say. Yeah, convicted.
He's been convicted. I
um,
got you.
no, but they have a certain degree of conviction about their ideas, and that's what people vote for. Is they want people that are actually going to get shit done, and whether or not you agree with them is going to be the difference in whether you vote for them. But this middle of the road stuff is it almost seems like an out for people that don't have any conviction. They just want to be elected again
Hmm.
and keep that flow going.
Okay.
And I don't like that at all. I want people with conviction in government. I would rather that two people with conviction fight it out rather than having two middle of the road people sort of just agree with each other all the time and not get anything done.
Well, wouldn't that get the most done?
Not at all.
Because they're willing to compromise? You don't think that would get the most done? Is if they were closer to the center instead of Republicans being here and Democrats being there. They were. What if we had two people here? What if the Senate was filled with moderates? You think they wouldn't get things done?
They would get some things done. I just don't think it'd be. I mean, we wouldn't have a direction. Is the thing. Is they would not get things done that you want. They would not get things done that I want. They would just they would pass some legislation that's like they pass like an infrastructure bill
Hmm.
and that's like pretty much it. Or they either cut or raise taxes, and that's pretty much it. Like the very baseline stuff is what they would get done,
Okay.
but then you wouldn't have direction. Like you're never getting universal health care out of a middle of the road uh, government.
Okay. I want to argue with you, but I'm not sure.
Maybe
I think
again, we
I think
maybe we can push that forward for another
yeah,
time.
I think universal health care is a middle of the road thing. It's just been character assassinated by the people on the right. That's my opinion, and we can discuss that at some other point. But uh, that's why I wanted to argue with you. I was like, no, it's pretty middle of the road. It's not.
Oh, we can have that
Yeah,
conversation about healthcare and whatnot. I mean,
yeah.
we got a lot of topics that we can talk about in future streams. There's gun control. There's like including red flag laws and whatnot. There's universal health care. There's I'd like to talk about colleges at some point. Um, shoot, what other
Okay, cool.
ideas are there? Yeah, yeah. But anyway, um, we
I'll
could we can talk about rank choice voting if I have some time to sit there and study it for a while.
yeah, yeah. Maybe I should make a list. Maybe I'll make a list. Okay. Well, that's all of the news for today. I think we left off last time. Do you want to keep going about woke media, or do you want to move on to
Sure
something
thing.
else?
Yeah.
Because I'd love to
And
hear
it's
some. I mean, that's just my idea. Is what political ends do you think this is leading to? And do you think that these things are being pushed by an agenda? An agenda.
yes.
Okay.
Um, I sort of wanted to talk about House of the Dragon
Go for it.
because um I spent the last well, I suppose we only actually have one stream that actually got uploaded, but I
Right.
spent the last three streams, two of which are no more,
Yeah.
um, discussing negatives, right?
Mhm.
So I sort of wanted to discuss some positives in media
Mhm.
that House of the Dragon would be a shining example
Okay. Hit me.
of. We talked about our pyramids,
Mhm.
right? And I was rewatching House of the Dragon this week, and I also pulled up the Fellowship of the Ring, but I haven't finished it yet because it's very long, and I don't have that kind of attention span.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
But one thing that I noticed to you remember my seven um, signs of a bad TV show.
Mhm.
Well, while I was watching this very good media, I noticed that I have certain signs of a good TV show as well.
Okay.
And one of those is a good TV show doesn't waste my time.
Okay.
Um, if you watch this show, it's very, very dense. Uh, it's it's got a lot going on all at the same time. So there isn't just one character interaction happening at any given moment, unless it's a very important one.
Mhm.
Like you see in episode one, the character interactions that take place are right after Damon, and spoilers for House of the Dragon, anyone that hasn't watched it,
Yep. We're
uh,
gonna spoil it.
right after Damon um, goes out, and you have the scene with the gold cloaks where they go out into the town and they cut off the hands of thieves and they cut the dicks off of rapists,
Mhm.
right? And then they execute murderers. Then Damon is sitting there at the small council in the morning
Mhm.
after apparently spending all night doing this
Mhm.
because the dude still has bloodstains on his face
Mhm.
from the events of the night before. And then they have this conversation where you see the dynamic between Viserys and Daemon, and then you see the dynamic between Daemon and Otto. You also get a sort of idea of what Corlys's motivations are. You see you get a little bit of interaction from fucking what's his name? Something Strong. Lord Strong, we'll call him. The father of the guy that ends up siring Rhaenyra as children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you get all of that, and then you also have Rhaenyra as the cupbearer for the small council, and you see her reactions to certain things that are being said, and you get a certain amount of exposition where uh, they're talking about what happens if there is a boy that Viserys, or that if the child that Emma is pregnant with is a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot going on there. Like you get a fucking ton of information in the
Mm-hmm.
span of maybe 3 minutes of screen time.
Okay.
You don't see this in bad shows. Bad shows will show you a scene, and that scene is to show you a specific thing, and that's it. And then I'll move on to the next scene, and that scene is to show you a specific thing, and that's it. And the next scene is to show you a specific thing, and that's it. And that
Okay.
comes from, I think, uh, they call it character driven writing,
Sure.
but I also think that it fits within my pyramid because when these things are written this way, a lot of authors will tell you about how a character surprised them. You ever heard that saying before?
Yeah. It's a thing Stephen King talks about sometimes about how he's not really writing these characters and they're just doing the things. He doesn't always know what they're going to do.
Right. He doesn't know because and George Martin puts this in a different way is he's a gardener,
Mm-hmm.
right? He sort of just he plants his seeds and then lets his garden grow. And what the plants do is up to the plants,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's sort of a writing style that has that is sort of the mark of um, I think good writing versus bad.
Yeah, I can see that. You don't
The problem
you
is
create a
that
character, but you don't know what they're going to do until you put them into the situation. So
well,
yeah.
yeah, that's how you have good characters, right? They're very dynamic. They're fleshed out. That you understand their motivations and who they are personally, and that's going to cause them to behave in ways that maybe even the writer didn't anticipate until they were sitting there and they were like, "Oh, actually, Jamie Lannister would never do this,
What would they do? What
right?
would he do? Yeah, in this situation.
What
Great.
would he do, right?" And then they write that he does that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I don't think that having themes as your forefront um, is conducive to that style of writing.
I think the thing you described loving was themes. I heard you describing it, and I was about to draw some arrows pointing at the themes because that's what you did. Is you described the themes, all the people that were walking in, uh, the people bouncing off each other is where these two meet. Where themes and characters meet is what you described. Damon walking in, talking to Viserys about what he's done and how it affects the realm and the idea of what he's done. Is chopping the hands off right? Is executing all these people? Did the Gold Cloaks go too far? And he's leading them. This is the meeting point of themes and characters. I think you just did a great job describing all the themes of the show.
Not at all.
That's where we
No,
disagree.
the
I think we
I
have
I
a
think that
definitional
I think
issue
that
here.
the errors the arrows there need to be pointed at characters, characters and execution in this case. Um, our
Do you think
characters.
what you just described is here? I think what you just described is here.
Well, hold on. I think where what I just described is in all three of my first three
Okay.
uh, zones. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Because our characters, we get a lot of the execution is the amount of information that we receive in those moments. I mean, we have one scene where we learn a lot about these characters.
Mm-hmm.
It really sets the stage. Um, it's executed very well. It doesn't waste our time. There are other scenes in the same episode with the tourney that they have
Mm-hmm.
um, that tell us a lot about the characters. We see Damon being an asshole to Otto again, but since we've already seen him be an asshole to Otto once in the small council meeting, we don't have. We can just look at. They just show very short shots of Otto's reaction to things, and the two characters don't actually have a direct interaction with each other. But
Mm-hmm.
you can tell that Damon is doing what he's doing to piss Otto off,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is fucking good writing. Like you don't see that in bad writing.
Okay.
It
I,
but would Damon do this? Yes. Why? Because Damon and Otto don't like each other, right? And then Damon's an arrogant prick at the beginning of this show, right? So you would expect that he would behave this way. So it's consistent. They execute things very well, showing Damon's choices and then Otto's reaction to those choices without having a direct interaction between the characters. So it's executed well. And then the characters themselves get a little more developed because you see what exactly they're doing, how they respond to it, and it's all just so good.
I
um,
agree. It is all very good.
you don't get this in
House of the
bad
Dragon
shows.
is good. You don't get it
So
in bad shows. Um, I can.
you can have plenty of themes in bad shows and bad movies, but nothing I described just now was a theme.
Everything you described is theme.
Not at all. What do you what whoa, your definition
uh,
of theme must be gigantic.
yes, it is gigantic. That's why it's at the bottom. That's why it is the base of the pyramid because it is gigantic and it is important and it encompasses shitloads. Um, I think
Oh, maybe we should talk about what's a theme then.
the discourse.
It's very vague.
Yes, it is. That's why it's difficult. I had to move them over to this side um, because there we go. That's better because on Rotten Tomatoes you've got the critic on the left and
Ah,
then
yes,
the fan
yes.
on the right. So I'm just making it, and then I'm a leftist and so I'm on the left. So um, theme, yes. Googling the definition. Theme, the subject of a talk, a piece of writing, a person's thoughts, or an exhibition. Yeah, the subject of what you described is like Damon coming in and talking to them. That's like a theme. What is uh, an idea that reoccurs in or pervades a work of art or
I
literature?
think number
So,
2 is probably the
yeah,
more apt one for the subject that we're talking about.
that's
So,
fine. This is our
an
definition.
idea that recurs. I mean, what ideas are
Pervades.
recurring in these scenes that we just talked about that you think fits the subject of themes?
Who is in power? The man on the throne or the man with the sword? Police brutality, feminism, uh, uh, family, how messy families get, how messy royalty gets with cousins and step cousins and lines of succession. These are all themes, and seeing the characters bounce off of those themes is the fun part, I think.
And what I'm trying to tell you is that those themes arise from those character interactions. They are not the fundamental basis that the author is thinking about when they write these interactions.
They absolutely are. Because if you don't have those ideas, there is nothing. You get uh, the Jerry Bruckheimer films, you get the Michael Bay movies. Michael Bay movies are characters with no theme. They
And
are,
no logic.
and very little logic. You know,
Well, logic is sort of
I think
the
your
basis of my pyramid, right?
themes, yeah. Um, I think an idea that reoccurs or pervades the work in the art of literature. Yeah, great theme. I think that is the most important part of it. And I think
And
you are
I'm
listing
telling
those
you,
themes. I think all the positive things you've said are within the theme category, except for the specific, hey, this is how the character acts. When one,
the themes
when,
are arising from those characters, though. They're very well written characters, which causes themes to arise from them. So if a character behaves in a way that's totally antithetical to the way you would expect, right? Then and you do that in service of themes, it's going to make a bad show. Whereas all the characters in this case act in a way that you would expect, and it's consistent with what you learn about them as the show goes on.
those characters weren't born into their positions. They were created by a writer who wanted Otto to uh, rub against Damon with the idea of theme involved. He wanted a brash, young, evil uncle to smash against the calm, cool, calculating hand of the king. He wanted that, so he created them. Damon isn't a person. He wasn't born. He isn't. His actions aren't determined by his upbringing. His actions are determined by a writer who wanted
Yes,
that
the
theme
writer
to
that is a
exist.
gardener.
Yeah, he wanted these two to
So
clash, so he created.
again,
A,
I'm telling you
yeah.
about how the characters sometimes surprise the author
Mm-hmm.
in good writing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the characters, yes, they're not real people, but they're supposed to sort of come to life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, they do have the characters, yes, they're not real people, but they do have their individual motivations. They have their um well, I said motivations. They have their character traits, their flaws. Um, and to see the way that they interact with the world is what we're looking at. The
Yeah.
themes they come from that. So
The themes were there
so
first.
Otto has motivations, right? He's not just the calm, cool, collected hand of the king. He's a guy that he's very power hungry. He's willing to do anything to eventually potentially achieve the Iron Throne himself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to the point where he uses his daughter as a pawn to uh, seduce the king, basically.
Yeah.
Um, all of these things are not theme driven. I don't think they're
I think.
things that Otto would do because he is who he is, and he does them. And then you're assigning themes to that. Whereas for me, I'm saying these are things that Otto would do. He because he is this character, he would do this. Therefore, therefore it makes sense, and the theme arises from that. So the theme of using the you got to change the secondary
I
color to
know. I
yellow
know.
for
I know. I got it. I'm doing a bad
the
job,
theme
but I'm doing a bad job
of
on purpose.
using, or the way that the females are used in games of power
Mm-hmm.
in the show arises from the behavior of these characters. It's not because
Right. And if this were a documentary, I would agree with you that The Otto was born and raised and educated, and this is his thought process. But he was not born, he was written. And the author wanted someone to go against a certain thing, so he created that character. He put them in there to execute the theme, and he
Every
builds the
good
character
show,
to do that.
every good show is a documentary of a fictional world.
Every good show is a documentary of a fictional world. I don't know. Every good show is a documentary. Mm, no, because they can retcon and they can undo things and they can change things later.
Yeah, we call that bad writing.
Yeah, it's bad writing. Yeah. So
So
every good show is a
a good show,
documentary
yeah.
of a fictional world. And it's an idea to keep in your head. That's fine. Don't be a bad writer. I agree. But characters are created to fill the role. If there was no evil uncle within the show, if there was no Otto Hightower, then one would have to become a good show, one would have to invent one. And when you invent
One
characters, you start with what you want them to be. Do you want them to be an evil uncle? Do you want them to be the conniving uh, backstabber? Do you want them to be the spider? Do you want them to be Littlefinger? And that is a theme.
Well, here's the thing though is you have these characters, they make a good story. There's always the question of what ifs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, what if Otto Hightower was never the hand of the king? Well, Daemon would still be the heir, and you'd have a whole show essentially about Viserys' rule and
Mm-hmm.
Daemon's antics, and you'd have a show about the conflict between them as brothers who love each other, but also who have very differing views. And then you'd
I,
also have the small council with conflict against Daemon, where the small council still doesn't like him. But Otto really is the in Daemon's story, the antagonist, where Otto is the one that causes all these that pushes Viserys to recognize Rhaenyra as the next heir. He also is the one that essentially pushes Alicent into the role of becoming Viserys' queen.
uh-huh.
He's he does a lot of things in that show that are all consistent with his character. And other characters react in a way consistent to their characters.
Brothers who like each other but have different views falls squarely within a theme. It just does. That's what the theme is. The definition. An idea that reoccurs or pervades a work of art or literature. Brothers who dislike each other, who do like each other, but have different views, is theme. What you are describing is a theme, not character.
Ooh, your definition of themes is
Um,
way broader than I thought. Okay.
right, because it is gigantically broad. That's why it's at the bottom of the pyramid. That's why it is the base. That is why it is the largest part of the pyramid. Brothers who like each other but have different views is where you start, and then you invent characters. When you write stuff, generally, I'm not a professional writer. All I write is D&D campaigns. But what I do is start with the idea. Hey, I got these two people. They're having a conflict. What kind of conflict? Okay, they're fighting over a throne. Great. I've written people fighting over a throne before. And what I start with is the throne. Why are they fighting? One of them's a vampire. Okay, let's make characters. One of them's a fun-loving party time, have a good time vampire who's bankrupting the kingdom, and the other is a studious mouse-like lady who wants austerity. Bam! I started with a theme. I did the characters. Then I'm gonna write their dialogue. Then I'm gonna go back for logic to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. maybe this is
Hmm.
a writer's hierarchy of appreciation, and critics are closer to writers.
I don't know. I'm not sure where I put this because I see what you're saying with themes, but then if you're focused on themes to begin with, and then you that is your main focus the whole time, I think that makes for bad writing.
It could,
Like,
if I skimp on the writing because it doesn't fit within the theme, I could see that being a problem.
yeah, it makes a bad show.
Possibly, but removing any of these parts would make a bad show. Removing any of your parts would make a bad show, wouldn't it?
Well, if you remove themes at the top of my pyramid,
It's less
those themes will
detrimental
still
to you.
re-arise.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's less detrimental to you. But if you remove themes from my pyramid, you get Michael Bay movies, which I
Well, yes,
think are
my pyramid's
bad, but lots of people think are good. You know what I mean?
Well, hold on a second. If you remove themes from your pyramid, you get Michael Bay movies.
You get loud noises with no reason. You get
Well,
what's
Michael
that?
Bay movies are also largely devoid of logic.
Mm, I know, but that's less important to the people
And
watching
also
it.
they're not written very well.
I agree. So he doesn't have any of the pyramid. Great. His
No,
his his
he
pyramid
doesn't.
is
He
cracked
he
everywhere,
builds yeah,
which means
he
they're not
makes
good, right?
flashy explosions. Yeah,
Which
that's
means
pretty
they're
much
not
it.
good. I agree. Um, so if they're not good, I think we just get back down to the premise of we're building different pyramids, you and I, because I write things, because I critique things. This is my list of priorities, and
You can have those priorities, but things have to make sense.
they don't have
They
to.
need to be consistent. The characters have to behave in ways you would expect the characters to behave. I mean, otherwise you get the
I think if you
Teletubbies.
build it this way, it does make sense. If you build it this way, it does make sense. The theme exists of two
No, it
brothers
doesn't.
who don't like each other but have different views. Then
I
you build
wanted
your
to talk about
characters.
positive things, and
Then
now
you,
you're gonna make me get negative again.
um,
um, okay. Question: In the Rings of Power,
uh huh,
when Galadriel decides that she's still mad at Sauron and wants to hunt him some more,
uh huh,
she jumps into, or she grabs her brother's dagger. They're about to enter Valinor, right?
okay,
They're on that boat. She's in like that white dress thing, not dress, whatever it's called.
mm-hmm,
And she grabs her brother's dagger off the deck and then jumps into the water to try to swim back to Middle Earth.
mm-hmm.
You know that's suicide, right?
What is?
Doing that. Jumping into the water at the you're literally at the edge of the world.
She swam back,
No, she did not.
and then she
And
found a
she
thing. Yes, this
well,
is
that's a
it,
contrivance.
a contrivance. She changed her mind at the last second. She jumped off the boat, which was probably a bad idea. Things.
Yes.
She swims for a very
Did
long
you see
time.
the
You know what
distance
else doesn't make
between
sense? Immortal elves. I I think you're disliking a thing that you see and then attacking the logic. You didn't attack the logic of what 2,000-year-old elves, but you attacked the logic of a 2,000-year-old elf swimming for 4 days.
well, 2,000-year-old elves is consistent with the world. It's part of the world that elves are immortal. Yes. However,
Well, it's part of the world that elves can swim
elves
for
are
4 days.
not
Yes, they can.
elves are
Just
not written
you just saw it.
as un uh not untire as tireless. They're not they can't escape fatigue, right?
If
That's not how
she
they're written.
thought she was going to die by jumping in that water, she wouldn't have done it.
Well,
She'd have jumped off sooner.
If
She
she
did
didn't
a
think
thing
she
that
was
she
gonna
knew
die
she
when
could
she
do.
did that, she's an idiot.
She,
Because
you,
did you see the map?
I have literal on film canon showing her swimming for 3 days. So it suggests that they can. That is
Okay,
logical
but
consistent
the
within
the
the world.
distance that she would have to swim in order to get to Middle Earth again, but she has no idea that she's going to be picked up by the raft.
No, she
She
doesn't.
doesn't know that. The distance that she would have to swim to get back to Middle Earth is more like 6 months of straight swimming.
Then she's completely sure that she can swim 6 months.
That is fucking crazy.
Yes, it's crazy. You know what else is crazy? Immortal elves.
I don't think she can do that.
You know what else is crazy? Sailing your ship into some sort of light and appearing in a different continent. Crazy.
Also, they should never have been able to do that in the first place.
Right.
No, no,
What
no.
the?
Going to Valinor. Like the whole like Gilgalad has no power to send people to Valinor. Um
He does
and
though. I saw him. He did it.
no, he doesn't because the reason the elves were kicked out was of Valinor was for kinslaying. Like they had a civil war and the side that Galadriel and Gilgalad were on lost, and that's why they're in Middle Earth now.
Okay. The show didn't tell me that,
It alludes to it though.
which means it
It
doesn't
they it
strike
alludes to
against
it
your
with
logical consistency.
Galadriel. It alludes to it with Galadriel telling what's his name Halbrand
Hmm.
that well, we shall redeem both of our bloodlines then. Well, what's to redeem? It's the kinslaying in her case. So it is in the show that, yes, they did engage in kinslaying against other elves. That's why they're in Middle Earth. And Gilgalad cannot just redeem people and send them back. Gilgalad is one of the kinslayers.
None of that was in the
So
show.
none of them can go back to Valinor.
None of that's in the show. If he said it's impossible to get there, we can't go, and then in the next episode he's like, okay, let's go, and then they go, then that would strike against your logical consistency. Within the show that was presented, the word Kenslayer never came up. Not
Okay, so
once.
why does Galadriel have to redeem her bloodline?
I don't know. I don't even remember that uh, uh, line. And if I did see it, it was probably something along the lines of, "Hey, let's." She got in trouble for jumping off the boat. She's not their favorite person right now. She's redeeming herself and her bloodline for her brother trying to fight this war. I don't know. I don't. This line again, as we always talk about this, things stick in your brain that I don't even notice. It's it's almost a color blindness uh, kind of thing. Like I don't even see them there because I'm not looking. I think you are absolutely nitpicking for logical inconsistencies because you don't want it to be good. I think you take a pessimistic view of this thing. Something hits you right in the brain, and it makes you do this logical consistency thing. Whether it's the line from uh, She-Hulk or something specific about uh, Galadriel that makes you go, okay, nope, logical inconsistency, and then you start searching for them, almost like a YouTuber in the 2000s. What was that, Cinema
Well,
Sins or whatever, with the plot
I
holes and horse shit.
I don't like Cinema
I
Sins.
know.
Cinema Sins an idiot. But no, it's not a matter of not like I look for logical inconsistencies in House of the Dragon too. It's just that there aren't very many.
Okay, I would, I don't know. Do I agree? I don't know. Are there logical? I don't look for them. It's so far up on my thing that I don't care. It's so unimportant. Maybe I should draw these things upside down. No, this is making pyramid anymore. Most important is down here. Second, third, least important is up here. So, uh, if there were logical inconsistencies within uh, House of the Dragon, I didn't notice them, and you haven't found any, which I think
Oh,
is a
I found a couple, just
I
not
think
anything.
the even the phrasing that we're using right now. I didn't notice any, and you didn't find any. I think that's an important language difference as well. I only notice them, I only find them if they're so bad that they hit me right in the face. I think you are actually looking for them. I think you found them because you went looking for
Maybe in some cases. I know that when I watch something good, I know I'm looking at something good without looking for inconsistencies.
them. Hmm.
When I am watching something bad, my I have a certain feeling about it, I think
Okay.
is is the problem is that I know that there's something wrong with what's happening in front of me right now, right? Like when I watched Jen tell Bruce that
Hmm.
she controls her emotions infinitely more than him, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What the fuck did you just say? Because
Hmm.
that definitely felt wrong.
Hmm.
Okay.
I didn't say
Um,
any of that because logic is not as important in because the theme was, hey, women have to go through this, and they would like you to know it. This is the theme. But yes, you're
but
right. I agreed to that last week that logically her sentence is incorrect.
right.
But that is way less important than the theme that she's trying to get across. But for you, this is reversed. Her logically inconsistent words are jarring and throwing you out. And I think once that happens, you start looking for problems.
It has to happen to a certain degree, though. I mean, there are plenty of things I can enjoy
Okay.
um, that don't always have the greatest consistency, but at least they are executed well.
Hmm.
Their characters are good.
Okay.
Um, yeah, the themes are in like literally last place
Yeah.
in terms of what I care about.
Yeah.
But House of the Dragon, God, what an amazing show!
Good stuff. I agree. It's a very good show. I'm on board. I think it's very good.
What
Um,
did you think of that season 8, or not season 8 of episode 8 of House of the Dragon?
I was confused. I thought that this was only going to be one season. I didn't. I don't know why, but I had just assumed that this was one book, so it would be one season. Generally that's how the other seasons were, right? Um, the first.
Well, you're thinking episode 10. I meant episode 8. Episode 10 was the finale.
Okay, there were 10 of them, not eight. Okay, I am getting confused.
Yeah, episode
Um,
8 is the episode with the walk to the throne and the dinner. Um,
oh,
it's the episode with
uh, Viserys'
there's
dinner.
one more important.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Viserys' dinner was fantastic. It had a theme of like family coming together at the Thanksgiving table, and they don't always like each other. It's kind of a thing that happens to you and me on occasion. You have to go and hang out with your family that you don't like, and they did something to piss you off or to actually like harm you, but you have to go and sit with them, and then the old man tells you, "Hey, get along," and then they all say nice things about each other, and then uh, at the Thanksgiving table, I might not agree with the guy sitting across from me, but I'm going to make up the couch so that he can sleep on it after Thanksgiving's over, and then I'm going to help him carry stuff out to his car, even though we
So those are
disagreed at the
themes to
table.
you.
Yes, the idea of the old person, the Primarch of the uh, family, uh, trying to get his kids and grandkids to get along because he doesn't want them to fight anymore. That's a theme. Um,
Do you remember that scene well enough to sort of go shot by shot with it?
I
I'm curious.
don't, but I could probably look at photos. Why?
So, well, I do. I've watched it many times
Okay,
now because it's so fucking good.
okay. So that I would put that under execution at the moment. I'm putting that under
I have a
execution, but
great appreciation for that whole episode. It's fucking incredible.
good cinematography is a thing. That's the word you're looking for, I think.
No, not just cinematography, but the character work. Um, the fact that we have a whole um, scene in that episode of it's a payoff, but it's one that you would never expect from a Michael Bay film, for example. Like the walk to the throne is fucking incredible, and it's just
When
an
he
old
walks up
guy
there, yeah, I okay.
like with a cane walking down, and it's so good. And then he's going up the steps. He drops his crown. Or well, he's going up the steps. Someone tries to help him. He's like, no, I'm fine. And he continues. He drops his crown, and someone picks it up and puts it on his head. And he's like, I said I'll be fine. And it's fucking Damon. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
And he's helping
ah,
him.
so good.
He has, yeah, I agree.
Like,
He is a brother who likes him, even though they have different views. I agree. That's a good payoff. It's a good scene. It's a good moment. I like it.
well, I believe that this belongs in characters because
It's two characters
the
bouncing
char-
off each other for reasons. I can't
the
put it there.
character of because Damon's watching his brother now old and decrepit and injured from years of sitting upon the Iron Throne, and the Iron Throne has been injuring him throughout the entire show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, walk up these steps, and he drops his crown, and remember earlier on, Damon was you know, he was ambitious. He wanted the throne.
Mm-hmm.
He believed that he would sit the throne better than Viserys could.
Mm-hmm.
But then in this scene, you get the payoff of their development over the course of the season,
Mm-hmm.
where Viserys is walking up to the throne, and Daemon goes and picks up his crown, helps him to the throne, and puts the crown back on his head. So good. Um, that's not the themes arise from that interaction. Yes, like you can see themes from that, but you're not getting that without the characters behaving in the way that that has already been established that they would.
I agree that Damon is a good character, but that
Well, so
doesn't.
is Viserys, and
Right, they're both
Viserys
very good characters,
was
and they're
only
very
there
interesting.
because
And when they interact, when one of them says A and the other says B, when one says up and the other says down, that is a uh, that is them bouncing off each other. Even when they agree, when they both agree, when they both say up, that's also within the themes. The character is what the character is, what the character is, um, how they were raised, acceptable. But when they start interacting with other people, with other characters, I think you get down into the themes area. Was it logically consistent for
ooh,
Damon
I
to do
totally
the
disagree.
thing? I think it was logically consistent, sure.
Uh-huh. And it
Uh,
was executed very well.
and it was executed very well, I agree.
And now you're deriving a theme from that. You're
No, I think
saying,
the
"Oh, look,
theme,
there are brothers that now they used to be against each other, and now one of them is realizing, like, yeah, you should be king."
yes, but
And the theme is arising from those things. The
no.
characters are behaving in logically consistent fashions according to their character arcs. It's executed beautifully. You don't see who it is that picks the crown up, puts it on his head. And then it cuts and shows Damon's there, and Viserys, who refused the help before, is now accepting the help from his brother to get up to the throne, and then you can derive themes from that.
Yes, that is how you derived the theme. But the theme was created by the author. I very much suspect that he started with this idea, and that is
Not at all,
the theme is
actually.
the important part. The theme is the important part. The characters don't matter. They don't exist. The story that they are telling you is what matters.
Well, first of all, the theme was not what was first in mind there. And I'm going to tell you this,
Uh huh.
I know that for a fact because the crown dropping off the head and then Damon picking it up and placing it on him eventually and being there was ad-libbed. That was not scripted.
And It.
The characters behaved even in the shooting of the film, or not the film, the TV show. That was not supposed to happen. The characters behaved in a way that surprised not even the authors, but also the actors. And then they actually put that into the show.
And if it were the opposite,
There was no theme in mind.
great. Oh, boss, you're so wrong. If if the characters start doing something logically consistent, but it doesn't meet with the themes, then it would stick out. If they all started dancing a jig, it would not fit the theme for what we're going for right now. It wouldn't fit the mood. It wouldn't fit the story. The
Well, if they all started dancing a jig, no character would do that. It wouldn't be logical to do that while Viserys is walking to the throne. That's ridiculous.
I know. Well, okay. I think the things that you are describing are themes. Every single thing that you have said is a theme, and your definitions are incorrect. I think. I think that the one right here within themes, you have put this Damon helping with the dropped crown within characters, and I think that that is an incorrect place for us to place it. I think it belongs within themes. Not because the character wouldn't do it, but because the characters are interacting with each other. Anything that has story or characters interacting belongs within themes. And that is what makes it good. You are describing all the great themes of the show. And I agree with you. They are great.
If Damon had walked up and since the crown fell off, he took the crown, he put it on his own head, and he pushed the Viserys onto the swords surrounding him
Mm-hmm.
and killed him, would
Mm-hmm.
you still think that that was themes
Yes.
based?
Because he's
And you would
interacting
still
with
think that
the
that's
other
good?
characters. That is a character interaction you are describing. When the characters are bouncing off each other, when Damon yells at Otto, when Otto subtly manipulates his daughter, those are all within themes. When the evil uncle, he's an evil uncle, my man. He's just like Scar, and who are some other evil uncles? Evil uncles is kind of a theme within media. Would you agree?
Uh, it is a recurring trope, I suppose.
Right.
I don't know if I'd call that a theme.
Tropes is just another word for themes.
Not at all.
Evil uncle TV tropes. I'm gonna look up the definition for trope. Uh, word or expression used as a figurative sense. Common used. Theme. It has the word theme right there in its definition
It's
of
a
trope.
cliche.
Yes, themes can be cliche. I agree. The evil uncle is a little bit of a cliche. It really is. Um, the bratty child of a king. Bit of a cliche. We've seen it 100 times. You know, Joffrey is. Would you agree that Joffrey's a little bit of a cliche?
Ooh, he's a little bit extreme. I mean, yeah, bratty child,
The
sure, but
bratty child of the
Jesus
king
Christ,
is
Joffrey is on another level, I think.
right, and then he gets to go beyond what is usually cliched and become like a little hell child. Yeah, the bratty child of the king is a theme. It is a trope. It is a cliche. So maybe if you, I don't think I'm going to be able to move you over here until you become like a writer and creator. So what I've got with going on right here is critics, writers, and creators. They create the idea, then they make the characters around the idea, and then they write the stuff, and then they fix the logic. But for an appreciation for the person viewing, I recognize that this is more important to you and fans of yours. I get that. And the flipped values of these pyramids is what causes these scores to be different. Because when I see House of the Dragon, I see the trope of the evil uncle, and I see the trope and the theme that they are going for. And when he interacts with the king, who is mostly just, I mean, I don't think Viserys ever did a damn thing wrong. Um,
Oh, Viserys was a great fucking
he
king.
was a great king, great. He was Viserys the Peaceful, which is what we want. But and even within Viserys the Peaceful, he wants to be a badass. He wants to win a war. Isn't that one of the things that happens to him? Like he's like, man, I didn't have any great wins. I didn't have any big, uh, cool battles where I got to be the hero. This
Well,
is a
he does mention that he doesn't know what his legacy will be.
yeah.
He's like, I
I'm
didn't
just,
really get tested, is what
yeah,
he says.
yeah.
And that's fine. Like, it's fine to
I think
feel
that
that way. People feel
belongs
that
within
way in
his
general.
character.
Like,
Yes.
and but then again, sure, he wasn't tested in the field of battle, but then the walk to the throne is a payoff for that, right? Like, you see a form of strength in somebody when Viserys walks to the throne that is incredible. Like, it's not on the field of battle, but just his walk to the throne, combating his physical ailments and whatnot, so that he can be there for his daughter.
It has
Is
weight and importance. I agree.
Yeah, what an incredible scene. Um, he uh, he is tested in the end, but it's not in the way that he thought.
Okay. So, are you okay with the pyramids? I'm not saying one is right and one's wrong. I'm saying they're just a different views of analysis and lenses by which we can look at things.
Yeah, I'm okay with them. I just think
Okay.
one makes for good writing and one makes for bad.
I think when you have all the pieces of this one, then you don't have any flaws in this one. If you're a
We have
creator,
the
if you're
same
a
pieces,
creator,
so
if you're a creator and you build it this way, then there will be no cracks when the fans view
right. And I'll tell you that anything that I enjoy
it.
that you see in my pyramid,
Mm-hmm.
you will probably also enjoy.
Maybe. Uh, it's entirely possible
The
for
problem is that I will not enjoy all of the things that you enjoy in your pyramid.
right, which is why we get this, which is why
Right.
we both agree on House of the Dragon and we disagree on Last Jedi.
Well, yeah.
Because I'm looking at Last Jedi from this angle, and you're looking at it from this angle, and we are seeing two different things.
So what I'm saying is your criteria for what's good is actually broader by quite a bit than mine.
Yes, probably. I did use the word pessimism to describe your views earlier. So
Sure.
maybe I'm more optimistic towards it. Mm, maybe not. Not sure. We'll have to go through 1,000 other things. Now, how is this ruining the country?
Well, it's ruining the it's it is a problem because people are starting to notice the bad writing from my perspective.
People are starting to notice the bad writing.
Here's the thing is that a lot of these shows are now starting to approach the actual writing of shows and movies with your pyramid
With the
in
theme
mind.
of feminism or the theme of equality or the theme of anti-capitalism.
Yeah, and it is
And
making things not make sense. It's causing people to be like, "Oh, wait, what the fuck just happened? Why would you say that? Why would you do that?" It
because
is
writers and creators start with the themes.
Yeah, and that's the wrong way to write. It's
It's how all writers write.
they it's it causes moments like the one moment that I have the biggest problem with in She-Hulk. That's what that causes. Is You don't say that shit to Bruce Banner, the guy who has literally saved quadrillions of lives, who has lost several years of his life being hunted by militaries, who has lost both of the women that he
Okay.
loves, who's lost his best friend in a universal war. Like, all these things are just not things that you say to Bruce Banner, but she
Okay.
does because the writers had themes in mind first.
Yes, all writers have themes in mind first, always.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do. I suggest to you that House of the Dragon was made with themes in mind first, and they just didn't have any glaring cracks. They didn't have any uh, glaring obvious problems with the characters of the writing. I
At the very least, the people that were interested in writing and directing and show running House of the Dragon actually cared about the source material.
sure, but
And the source material did not have themes in mind.
oh, boss, it was based on the War of Roses, which is like a theme.
Well, no, that's
Yes,
based on the War of the Roses.
right. The War of the Roses is a complicated French uh, thing with hundreds of characters and political uh, machinations.
Yes,
This is
which
your
makes for
theme.
great television.
This is your theme right here for the Civil War
The
fought
War
over
of the
control of the
Roses
English throne.
is a thing that happened. The War of the Roses is not a theme. Come on.
How is it not? Okay,
When you talk about theme, you're talking about ideas, right?
yes.
You're talking about ideas
And they
like,
can be as big as, hey, I want to make a thing that's kind of like the War of the Roses. Or they can be as small as Damon picking up that crown. Theme is the most important part. And it is the basis for a writer or a creator to make things. And it can be big. It can be big. I want to make a complex civil war with 1,000 different characters, all with their own political machinations. Or it can be as small as the girl with the blonde hair cheating on her gay husband. Theme encompasses all of these things. It's omnipresent. That's what I'm telling you. It's here at the bottom of this pyramid, but it is actually here. You got me?
it's not a thing then that
Of course it
is
is. It's a
like,
thing that you have to wrestle with. It's a thing that a creator and a writer has to bring to life. It is a thing that they have to find, identify, and then create characters within it.
no. I
No,
completely disagree. I think characters should behave in ways that are consistent. Characters should behave in ways that are in line with what they have been established to, or of how they've been established to behave. It should be executed well, and the themes are something that the person thinks about later. The viewer thinks about later. It's You are thinking about things in retrospect right now. You're looking at House of the
no.
Dragon. You're seeing how people are reacting to each other, and you're saying, "Oh, and I proved that already. If Daemon had gotten up and pushed Viserys onto one of um the swords that are part of the Iron Throne
Uh huh.
and killed him,
Uh huh.
you would say, "Oh, that's the theme of the antagonist brother now taking control
Yes,
or whatever." But that's
that's what the writer intended for the theme to be. But he didn't intend for uh, House of the Dragon to be that at that moment. What the writer is intending to tell
I'm
you is a
telling you that
story.
Damon would never do that.
He wouldn't do that.
No,
He
because he's
didn't do
Damon.
that.
He actually loves his brother.
Yes,
And in spite of their conflict, he would never push Viserys to death. Like, That's something he wouldn't do because he is Damon.
That's something he wouldn't do because the writer created a character of Damon. I'm not looking at it backward. I'm looking at it from the creator and the writer's position. Their position is you start with the theme and then you make the characters that fit within it. And if you need people to bounce off of each other, good characters colliding with each other, a well-written character like Damon and a well-written character like Otto, are those both well-written characters? I would suggest that they are. I think you would as well.
I would,
And
and
when
I
we
would say
see
that
them clash, it makes for a good show.
I would say that being a well-written character means that the character is not subservient to the themes.
You can't be a good written character without a theme. You can't.
Yeah, you can.
No,
Yeah, you have motivations.
that's a theme.
Um, are you fucking kidding me? No, they're not.
Yes!
No, they're not. No, stop, stop.
An
Themes cannot be so
idea.
all-encompassing.
They are omnipresent. That's why I just colored it red. Look at me. Right here. Right there. Red paint. This is themes. Now, it's omnipresent. It is 100% everywhere, all the time, forever, for all the things. We decided on this definition, an idea that reoccurs in or pervades a work of art or literature. And you're telling me that the things that Damon does over and over and over again, reoccurring throughout this work of literature, isn't a theme. Damon,
Wait,
the thing you described, Damon being a character that loves his brother and wouldn't do that, I'm suggesting to you is an idea that reoccurs and pervades this work of literature.
no, no, that's not a thing. I'm sorry. No, that's not in it. It because it's not in Damon's
Now you're
character to do
fighting
that.
this definition that we already agreed upon.
I I'm starting to see where you're coming from with this theme, though. It's an idea that pervades. No, that's not a theme. That's character. A theme is something that is part of the overall work. So you could say that House of the Dragon has feminist themes
Sometimes it
because
does,
it does,
but as I said,
and
they're omnipresent, so
they're not though.
they are
The, the
literally
the
omnipresent.
the feminist theme of House of the Dragon doesn't have anything to do um with Damon's behavior in the Walk to the Throne scene.
Of course it does.
Okay, no, it doesn't.
Oh, within that scene, no, it doesn't.
Within that scene, right? There is an overarching theme in the show
Hmm.
of feminism,
Hmm.
right? I mean, we're essentially looking at two queens warring with each other,
Hmm.
uh, between Alicent and Rhaenyra.
Hmm.
But that scene does not have the theme of feminism in it. It's that
That
scene is
specific
very
scene
character
doesn't
driven.
have the theme of feminism with it. I agree.
We're
But that
we're
doesn't
looking
mean
at
it doesn't exist within the rest of the show. There are a
it does.
hundred
It absolutely does
thousand
exist in the rest of the
themes.
show.
What does?
But
Okay.
yes, the theme of feminism exists in the show, but the characters have are are not always influenced by that theme, right?
By that one, no, not always.
Well, what theme are they always influenced by?
There isn't one specific thing. What what one thought are you always uh, influenced by? Probably none, except for maybe breathing.
God, you just made me think about breathing. God damn it.
I know. The entire audience.
And now all our viewers too.
I know.
You're now thinking about breathing.
Yeah.
Great.
Themes are over here, and they're over here, and they're over here,
I'm telling you that they
and they're
arise
over
from
here.
good writing.
You can't have good writing without them.
You absolutely can because you
It would mean nothing.
in your mind,
You would
well,
have.
it doesn't mean anything.
Remember
But I've
last
already
week?
I've already shown you.
Uh-huh.
I've already shown you. It doesn't matter what we put into what the characters do. you will find a theme from it.
It doesn't matter what
If
the
Daemon
characters
were to
do.
push Viserys, instead
Right,
of picking up his crown, were to push Viserys onto a sword,
right.
what theme would you come up with?
That would be the evil uncle. He finally saw his chance and took it. He's the evil uncle at that point. He is a brother who likes him, but has different view, and those different views have pushed him to this end, which is throwing him on the sword.
So
That would be a.
you would find a theme from the characters behaving in a totally different way
I wouldn't find
than they
them.
did.
That's where you're incorrect. I'm not finding these things. The
All of
authors
these
are
themes
making
are
them. The authors are making
inferred
them.
by the audience.
Themes are pervasive, omnipresent, and what the audience sees may not be what the author intended. But the author intends to tell you a story. The author intends to create brothers who don't like each other, who do like each other, but have different views. The author intends to create a queen who isn't accepted by the people because she's not a man. The author intends to have a character, an evil uncle character, argue uh, with the hand of the king. These are things
Well,
that
that's
an
where
author
we
intends
no.
for
The
you to
author
do.
intends to have a world that is logically consistent. There has never been a female
Madness.
there's never been a queen before that, without a king. There has the head of state,
If
you know, it the country will not accept Rhaenyra as the queen because there has never been a queen on the Iron Throne. And same goes for Rhaenys.
the
Like, these are things that are part of the world that we are looking at right now.
huh,
Like, yes, so
there
they're
is
they're
only
logically consistent with the world. If there had
no.
been, let me
If
put it this
logical,
way.
okay,
If there had already been a queen on the throne and we had the same exact story with the themes of, oh well, people won't accept the queen on the throne, does that make any fucking sense?
no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. So
Which doesn't
in
make
that
it.
case, the themes can be present. You can say, oh, the world won't accept a queen on the throne, except if you already had a queen before, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
I know
That's why the
that.
themes are less important than the consistency, because
No,
you have to have consistency.
there dragons don't exist. There is only one thing in the world that is 100% logically consistent, and that's World War II documentaries. We discussed
Stop.
this.
Stop.
That's
No,
literally the
it's
only
logically
thing.
consistent within the rules that are established in the fictional world that we're
Yeah, but
looking at.
yeah, but those
That
rules
is a thing.
are logically
Those rules,
inconsistent. Giant
no, no,
lizards
no, no,
can't
no.
fly.
Those rules,
Giant
yeah,
lizards don't
obviously
breathe
they're
fire.
logically inconsistent with our reality. We are looking at fiction, and yes, fiction still has to be logically consistent with itself.
Even that would not negate the idea that themes pervade throughout the entire thing.
They pervade because they arise from the character interactions and the logical consistency of the planet that they exist on. The that We've gotten to a fundamental point
They
here.
they pervade because
If
they are the
Look,
most
I'm
important part
telling
to
you
literature.
again, I want to just sort of hammer this in here.
Uh huh.
If there had already been a queen on the throne before, would House of the Dragons themes work?
They would have cracks. I'm going to draw them in. If there were queens and a long history of them, and you don't give us a reason, then this theme is cracked, and it isn't a very good feminist theme. The themes can be bad. I'm not saying that they're always good. They could be bad.
But so you're saying that the theme only works because it makes sense for this to be a problem within the world we're looking at.
Mm, if it's going to be great and build an entire pyramid, it will need logic at some point. I'm
It
gonna
has to
throw you.
have that logic in order to be worthwhile at all.
No, it has to
Because if
be
you had
have
had
that logic to
previous
be perfect.
themes, you can have those themes where people don't buy in, and you can even have good writing and and good characters, but if there have already been queens in the past in Westeros, and the theme is that they won't accept a woman queen or a woman head of state,
Yeah,
then the theme itself is has already crumbled.
you see my pyramid right here?
It doesn't make sense. I
This
do.
isn't a great show. This is an okay show that you're looking at. I'm not saying it's. I think you're being a bit extreme with the word good and the word in a very common thing. Either everything on the internet is a 10 out of 10 or a 1. Uh, uh, House of the Dragon's a 10, and the Lord of the Rings is a 1. Everything is the perfect, the best ever, or
Uh,
garbage. I
I'd say the Lord of the Rings is like a 3,
okay, great.
but you know,
I would put it at about a 5 or a 6. I'm not saying it's a 10. I never have. Right here, what we have is a show that's okay. You understand? If you
uh-huh.
take out this right here, do you know what we have? Not literature anymore. It's literally not literature. This is a World War II documentary. World War II documentaries are not literature. If
What
you
you
take that
have
out,
there,
you don't have literature.
if you take that out, the themes still show up. They do. They still show up.
No.
There is a theme to
Is it
World War II
literature?
documentaries, by the way.
I can recognize that they have a theme that is, hey, here's World War II.
Other than that, I mean, if you look at the characters, there's Hitler, he's the fascist dictator.
That's a
There's
character thing.
Winston Churchill, he's the English, leader that brings them through. There's
That's a
oh
character
fuck,
thing that logically happened.
yeah. Except that the
And
theme of a World
and
War
what
II
is the
documentary
and
is
what
going to
is
be
the
defeating the
author
Nazis and
trying to tell you? There
being
is no
against
author.
the
Who was the
genocide
who was the author of
of
World War II? It doesn't have an author. It's not literature.
who
Do you get
was
what
the
I'm saying?
author of World War II.
Who wrote
Uh,
it? Who
the,
wrote the whole thing? Nobody, because it's not literature. It can have characters, can have logic, and it can have people writing down what was said. It can have people writing out a speech and then giving it acceptable. That's not literature. When you
it
add,
can be well when you make it a documentary, it is immediately turned into media and not literature because
sure,
we're not looking at a book.
maybe that's
But
what we're, maybe that's where
when
our disagreement
when
lies.
you
That
turn
I'm
it into a
looking at literature.
documentary, it immediately becomes something that has an author, right?
There
Somebody
is an
authors
author
that
of the
documentary.
documentary, sure.
So yes,
Documentaries don't have
you do
authors. They
have
have
writing, you do
creators.
have
No,
characters,
documentaries
you
don't have
you do
authors.
have you have logical consistency is built in because it's what actually happened.
Do documentaries have authors? I don't think they do.
They absolutely do.
They have
Yeah,
creators. They have people who put it all together. Um, they have a person who wrangles all the information and puts it into a narrative that you could appreciate.
they have scripts.
They have scripts, sure, but that's not
If
an
you have to
author.
write a script, does
Mm,
writing make you an author?
if you are, I would make you an editor. Uh,
No, you
I'm,
still have to write a script.
you still have to write
You
a
have
script,
you
but
have to
if
have.
you are you not going to base that off what the people actually said?
Of course you are.
Great, that makes
That's
you an
your
editor. You're
goal.
an editor.
No, no, no. Stop. The script has to do with the narrator sort of explaining what's going on and showing the the events as they occur. You
Right,
still have
and
to write that, right? I mean,
mm,
and yes, there are authors and the scripts do matter because you would never think that what the fuck was that Nazi film, the propaganda film?
the one I mentioned last time,
What's it called?
Birth of a Nation.
No, no, no. That's a white supremacist
Hmm.
American film. I'm talking about actual Nazis, like in Germany.
Oh, the
Um,
movies they made back then. I mean, they had Goebbels creating all their
What the fuck was that called? Will to
Propaganda
Power or something like that?
might have been
I gotta look it up.
that would be if you're adding fiction, you're an author. If you're just taking things that existed and showing them, you're an editor. Because World War II documentaries don't describe
There it
every
is.
detail.
Triumph of the Will.
Triumph for the Will. Okay.
Right. And yes, the author does matter, right?
If
People didn't write Western uh, films which depicted the Nazis in a certain way, right?
mm-hmm.
Versus, well, obviously the Western films depicted them very negatively, as they should.
Okay,
But
great.
Triumph of the Will is going to depict them in a very positive light.
Uh-huh. That's
So
propaganda.
there is an author
Propaganda has an author. I agree.
of documentary films, and
Triumph of
Triumph
the
of the
Will
Will
is
is a documentary film.
propaganda. Propaganda is lies masquerading as a documentary.
It's literally
Propaganda
listed as a documentary film in Wikipedia.
and are the things in there real? Is it lying to you?
They could very well be real, but it also can be lying to you.
If
Yes,
it's right.
because the author matters.
Authors, propaganda has authors. I agree. Triumph of the Wills is
Yes,
propaganda and it
you just
has an
told me that
author.
that. Well, hold on. It's not
Yes,
just propaganda. Documentaries have authors.
documentaries, if the documentary is propaganda, then it has an author. If it has
All
straight,
documentaries have authors.
documentaries have
All of
editors.
them do.
They have editors. If you're doing a proper documentary, you have an editor. If you're doing a skewed, specific type of documentary that points to a illogical or an incorrect viewpoint, like the one you mentioned from the Nazi guy, you're an author because you're creating a fiction. If you are creating fiction with your work, you're an author. If you are depicting everything that exists and everything that is real and 100% factual, you are editing. You're closer to an editor anyway. You may not be the specifically person who is in charge and determines the final content of a text, but mostly editors belong in newspapers and magazines. But I would suggest that the properly done World War II documentaries are closer to a newspaper and a magazine than they are a work of fiction.
Even newspapers and magazines have authors.
They have writers. I mean, they don't call themselves authors, do they? They have bylines and they have the person who wrote it. They have columnists, and they have writers. They don't have authors because they don't call themselves
Uh,
authors.
aren't these things all just subcategories of author? What is the
No,
definition of author?
a writer of a book, article, or report
Oh, look at
is
that.
the
They're all
author of
authors.
several books on the subject.
Article or report.
Okay.
So a documentary, someone who writes a documentary is an author by definition.
All right.
And anybody who writes a newspaper article is also an author. They're not a columnist,
All
which
right.
well, actually they are a columnist. They're also an author.
Okay. Okay. I am looking at it from a different viewpoint, but you are probably right with this one. That the author of several books, even if they were nonfiction, you would be an author of a book. Sure.
Yeah,
Great.
they're, that's what it
But
is. They wrote something, and there's always a view that can be placed into the work itself. But
yes, and that is the big red theme that I'm again putting right here. There's always a view, Right here. I'm going to write it.
I'm telling you that these themes will always exist regardless of the author's intention.
Yes, that's
They
why they are.
arise
That's why I just used the word omnipresent.
they arise from everything else though.
No,
They do.
you're you're going at it backwards. There will always be a view,
I'm telling you
and
that
that's
if
the
you
theme.
erase themes from my pyramid
Uh huh.
and then you did all of the things that were in my pyramid, someone would come up with other themes. And my pyramid would just be complete again.
If we erase themes from your pyramid,
Yep.
okay. So what we have is a
So now we
logical,
have
consistent
characters behaving the way they're supposed to,
characters behaving the way they're
logically
supposed to.
consistent fashion.
A good execution.
It's executed well. Someone's going to go, oh, look at that. The brother that didn't like him before
This
is
is a
now.
this is a
It's all.
good
It's
World War II documentary.
which has themes.
That no.
Yeah, a good World War II documentary has themes. Of course it does.
Do they have themes? Sure. Okay.
Yes, it
Yes, they have
does. It
themes. Of
let's
course
look
they
at
do.
actually let's look
They're
at yeah, of
omnipresent.
course
They're
they do. They're
omnipresent. Of course they
omnipresent.
do.
Look at that. And you get the themes from
No,
what you just watched.
it doesn't come from what you just watched. Oh, okay. All right, fine. Okay. Let's go. All right, I've sorted the thoughts out. Um, yes. Does a good World War II documentary have themes? Of course it
Yes, it
does.
does.
Of course it does, because themes are omnipresent. Now, where
Uh-huh.
did those come from within a documentary? Where did those things come from? So that's the question I'm going to ask you. Where did those themes come from within the documentary?
Within the documentary,
Uh
it's going
huh.
to be they came from perspective. It came from who we're following. It
The
came from what
characters
everyone did
and how they do the things. Great. But where does a
and the
theme
and
come from in Westeros, which does not exist? It comes from the
same.
writer and the creator, who starts at themes.
No, they
Yes,
start at
fiction is
a
not
World War II
nonfiction.
documentary. They start at a documentary around the War of the Roses.
As a uh, uh, as an example, yes, the theme
They
of War
look
of
at
the
that, they
Roses
say the War of the Roses,
sure
that
was
would make for
cool.
some great content,
That would
and then
sure
they
make
write
for
a
some
book
great
about it.
content, and then they create a
And
place
they
called
include
Westeros.
characters that are sort of loosely based on the characters from the War of the Roses who are real people.
You
If you made
just
a War of the
you
Roses
just described
documentary,
my pyramid, my man. You
no, I
just did
didn't.
it. You
Not at
did.
all.
You literally
What are
did.
you talking about?
You just said
I didn't say anything about
War
themes.
of the Roses,
It's not a
and
theme.
then we'll make some characters. You just said it. You literally just said it.
The War of the Roses is not a theme in the way that
Absolutely, it is.
no, it's a historical event.
Yes.
When we talk themes, we are talking about ideas, right? The War of the Roses is a historical event. We don't consider that to be a theme in the way that it's an idea. If you're going to tell me that it's a topic of discussion, that's ridiculous. Nobody's looking at House of the Dragon and saying, oh, you
The
know what?
subject
I
of
think about
talk.
the War of the Roses. No,
The subject of
no.
talk, a piece of writing, a person's
Stop.
thoughts, or an exhibition. Man, this is right up there. He said, "Hey, the War of Roses
Themes
sure is
is
interesting."
definition number two. Definition number two there is themes.
Okay, it's an idea. You know what
The
idea?
War of the Roses is not an idea. The War of the Roses is a historical event that the show was based on,
He
or
took
the book was based on.
inspiration from the War of the Roses. He took
Yes,
the wild ideas that happened within the War of the Roses and turned them
and
into
those are
an
fine. But the
idea
War of the Roses
of
itself
Westeros.
is not a theme.
It absolutely is. I
No,
just
there are
can't.
themes within the War of the Roses, and that is a real event that happened that we can look at and see that people acted in a way that is in line with the way that they would act, and we get themes out of the War of the Roses, but using the War of the Roses as inspiration does not immediately imply that the War of the Roses is a theme. That's ridiculous.
I, that sentence is ridiculous. You say it again. I'm going to say it. So, using the War of the Roses as inspiration is not a theme. That sounds insane to
Yeah.
me. The,
The process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. So you can inspire something without being a theme of something.
he was inspired by the War of Roses. He took the overall ideas.
The War
Ideas.
of the Roses is not a theme.
The War of the Roses happened, but he's using the War of the Roses as a theme.
No, he's using the War of the Roses as inspiration, as you just said.
As a theme. Yes. These
Not
are
as a
all the same
theme.
things. Yes, these are all the same
No, they're
things.
not. They
Yes,
are
they
not the
absolutely
same
are.
things.
A theme is an important idea that is woven throughout a story. It is not the plot or the summary, but something a little deeper. A theme links a big idea about our world with the action of a text. That's what I've
And
been
the important thing
talking
there is
about.
a big idea,
Yes. What?
right? I said the important words there are a big idea.
This entire thing is important. It's an idea, yes. Hey, what if the War of the Roses also had dragons? What if I created a thing that is called Westeros and it's about shitty kings and their bratty children? What if I took the War of the Roses, a couple of people from the War of the Roses, and I gave them, and I wrote them as brothers who like each other but have different views?
I don't think that I'll be able to convince you of a definitional. Uh, we clearly have a definitional discrepancy here.
I know, and I keep pointing at all the definitions and um,
So do
thinking that
I.
they.
Excuse me.
I know you're pointing at. You were right about the author thing. That's fine. I don't consider someone who, and this is just my opinion, I don't consider someone who creates a World War II documentary an author. They're just taking things that happened, putting them into film, and going with it. If you wrote a specific word for word definition of every single thing that I did yesterday, and you just created a log of it, that's not author. That's not creating fiction. That's not creating a thing. That's not using important ideas that are woven throughout a story. Story is
Every
the most important word in this thing.
documentary has a viewpoint. Whether you want to call it
Yes,
propaganda
they
or not,
have a
Triumph of the Will
viewpoint.
is
I
technically a
agree completely.
Triumph of the Will is technically a documentary.
It's. I don't think it's. It
It's
may.
listed as a
It.
documentary.
It's more
You
propaganda, but
call it propaganda,
that's fine.
but it is technically a documentary.
Propaganda is a documentary that
They
lies to you.
all have authors.
They
Now,
have authors. Okay. I don't. If it's an actual documentary, propaganda has an author.
yeah,
Documentaries.
so do documentaries.
Documentaries have authors. But if you really want to be a documentary, you wouldn't consider yourself an author because you're not writing the thing. You're
Not
documenting the
all
thing. It's got the word
propaganda
document right
is
in
a
it.
documentary, but
Not all. No, propaganda isn't a documentary. Propaganda is a lie. It is a fictional creation. When you start creating fictions, you're an author, I think. But the definition doesn't support me, which is fine. I will take that loss. I will take that as a hit to my worldview.
fair
But
enough.
when a World War II documentary has themes, those themes were not created by an author. Would you agree to that? If a World War II documentary
I
has themes,
absolutely would agree to that.
the themes were not
Yes,
created by an
that's
author.
my whole point.
Right. But this wasn't the War of
Those
the
themes were not created by an author. Those
Great. I agree.
themes.
I agree with you.
What?
Westeros
How can?
wasn't a documentary. Westeros was
Okay.
created by an author. Yes?
So then,
And
So
that
then you
author
can
took the themes of the War of the Roses and turned it into a fictional world.
okay, but the War of the Roses itself is not the theme. The themes within the War of the Roses, yes, they can be considered themes.
Uh, what if I told you 100% of it? Oh, okay, fine. So the War of the Roses isn't a theme, but the themes of the War of the
So
Roses
if
is
we
the
made a
theme?
documentary about the War of the Roses, there would be themes that come out of it,
I
right?
agree. And those
Okay.
wouldn't have been written by an author.
Yes.
Okay, great. But the themes
Well,
of,
actually, they
yeah,
would have been, but they came from the documentary itself of the War of the Roses,
okay,
right?
great. So documentaries and fiction are two different things. And we are looking at, and you have to judge them differently. When an author makes a documentary, they might push towards a theme, but they have to use the events that happened to push you towards that theme. When an author like Martin creates a story, they start with a theme. What do they want to tell you? What do they want the story to be about? They want the story to be about these brothers who like each other but have different views. They want the story to be about feminism. They want the story to be about a She-Hulk.
Maybe they saw something in history that fascinated them and they wanted to make something along those lines without thinking about the themes of it. And those themes arose because they already existed from the source material.
That's not how writers work.
That is George Martin has already said, look, he doesn't think about where the story is going like as a set goal. He's not an architect, he's a gardener. And
Mm-hmm.
the story grows the way that it's going to grow. And those themes, as I have demonstrated already, if the characters behaved in wildly different ways, you would come up with different themes
Yes, the
to
theme would
support
change.
the
Yes,
theme of exactly.
it would
But
change.
that's as I'm saying is I'm saying the themes arise from character behaviors,
The
and
character
that's how it
behaviors
should
come
grow.
from a author. Damon doesn't exist. Every action Damon has ever done is from an author of a fictional story. And
But
that author
isn't
is trying
isn't
to
the
tell you
world
a
and
story.
the situation that Damon exists in based off of a non-fiction event?
Damon's doesn't matter if it's influenced by the War of the Roses or not at this point. Damon makes choices. Every single thing Damon has ever done is written by an author. And that author is trying to tell you a story. And that story has themes. A theme links the big idea about a world in the actions of a text. Damon's actions of the text
I'm not sure
are
how many
themes.
other ways I can put this. Hold on, go
Right.
back to the pyramid really quick.
Okay, we're back at the pyramid. Do I
So
need to
you
go backward?
erased my themes, right?
If you create something with logical consistency, something with characters, something with good execution, you get a good World War II documentary.
Okay, except that we've just now agreed that when you have those things, the themes are ever present. So I will my pyramid, even after you erase the themes, my pyramid is intact again.
I don't need your pyramid to be intact again because this is the point that I've been trying to make, not this right here. See all that red? That's the point I've been trying to make. Maybe you don't understand what my point is. My point is the themes are omnipresent, especially
So
within fiction.
I am saying so. Okay,
What is
we are
your
looking
point?
at
Maybe
the
we're
my
missing each
point
other's
is
points.
that starting from a theme and working from there is the incorrect way to build a story. The story comes from logical consistency, characters, and execution, and the themes arise from that. The themes are a byproduct of the story being told, whereas you're saying that the story being told is a byproduct of the themes that the author had in mind at the beginning.
Yes. What you're
And I think that we have a fundamental disagreement there.
because I am closer to a writer or creator than and a critic. I'm closer to a critic, but I write things and I create things, and what I do is start with the themes. That's what most writers do. They start with the idea that hey, I would like to make a world that is X or Y. I would like to make a story about feminism. I would like to make a story about a She-Hulk who doesn't like her powers. I would like to make a story about teenagers who have to go to a magic school. You start with those themes, and that's how writing happens. That's what writers do. That's what creators do. What you're describing is possible, and it is possible to be good. It still is. But there's no wizard college in real life. So if we start from logical consistency, the only thing that you can create is World War II documentaries.
Well, hold on a second. Logical consistency is within the world as it's been established. So if you establish a world where there are wizards and a wizard high school like Hogwarts, then as long as
That's the
things
theme.
work
You just made a
within that
theme, my
world,
man. You just made a theme. You just did it. You just made a theme. You just made one.
what the fuck are you talking about?
You just made a theme
I've made a world.
of wizards and schooling. So we have two
I've
themes
made a
here.
setting.
You've
I
made
haven't
a
made a theme. I've
setting.
made a setting.
You haven't made a theme. You made a setting. I agree. You made a setting. Oh, well, you made a wizard and a wizard school. So that's
Yeah,
I
that's a setting.
I
That
might
is
be
not
throwing
a
themes at
theme.
it. Okay.
That
Okay.
is a completely different thing.
Okay.
So yes, I can have settings that aren't consistent with the real world. But once I establish a setting with certain rules, and as I develop the story, more rules will be established. Then the the logical consistency must be there. If I establish a rule that Avada Kedavra will kill anybody that is hit by it, and then suddenly, and also it's unblockable, and suddenly people are able to block Avada Kedavra with a Protego spell. Well, now I've broken the logical consistency of the world. The rules don't make sense anymore.
There is no magic. It you can't say
No,
it's
it's the
logical
rules
within
that
the
are established
consistency.
within the world must be consistent with each other. I'm not saying that it has to be consistent with the real world. That's ridiculous. What I'm saying is that the rules that are established within the fictional world have to be consistent with the rules established in the fictional world
I'd like
that
to
you've written,
point you
right? So
towards
if you
this
establish that,
sentence right here that I think is important. Staying conscious of your theme will guide you toward creating moments that engage your readers. The moments you have been describing, where Damon is doing things, you are engaged, you are an engaged reader, you are engaged in the scene where Damon picks up the thing. That is a moment that was guided to by a theme.
but the moment was ad-libbed. No writer intended that until it actually happened by the characters. So they didn't have themes in mind when they did that. They saw something that was great, that hit hard, that looked good, and it
And it
happened to fit
fit
certain themes.
within the theme, right? If they didn't fit within the theme, if that ad lib that you're describing did not fit within the theme, they would have said cut, removed it, and taken it out of the show. But it fit within the theme. Sometimes accidents happen and they're happy. Sometimes happy accidents happen.
Well, it
Was
it didn't
was
just fit.
Damon about to murder Viserys before he dropped that crown and that ad lib thing happened? I don't think he was. He wasn't about to murder him.
Of course
So
not. But that's
the
because that's not
picking
what
it up and
Damon would
handing
do.
it to him
Damon loves his brother.
fit within the theme. It fit within it, and they rolled with it.
It
That's
was
fine.
also logically consistent with what Damon would
I
do,
agree it
and it was
was.
in Damon's character, and the execution of that moment when they filmed it for uh, viewing was flawless.
I agree. It was a very good scene. It had all of my pyramid. and it had all of yours.
Yeah, but mine
That's
doesn't
why
need.
this has both. It's
The
high
thing is,
scores.
the funny thing about my pyramid is that it doesn't actually need themes at the top because, as you said, the themes are omnipresent.
Because
Like
they're
if you,
omnipresent,
like I said, if you erase the top of my pyramid, I still have themes.
if I erase the top of your pyramid with themes still exist, yes.
Yep, exactly. The themes will always be there,
The themes will
and you
always
don't have to have them in
be
mind
there.
to make a good story.
That you don't have to have them in mind to make a good story. Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
You can't write without a theme. You can't. It can't be written. Fiction cannot be written without a theme. A World War II documentary can be created without a theme. Fiction can't. It just can't. It doesn't exist without it.
A World War II documentary can absolutely.
Exist without a theme. Yeah, I
Well,
agree. It can exist without a
hold
theme.
on, hold on. I have to think about that for a second because a World War II documentary can technically exist without a theme, but the themes will still arise. You can make a World War II documentary without a theme, but you're still going to come out with a theme in the end. You're going to come out with
No, a viewer
uh
will insert one,
exact, which is what I'm saying you're doing.
which is what I'm doing
Yes, you are. Yeah.
because I'm a writer. Writers insert themes all the time. They literally create
I'm
them.
saying that you are inserting a theme
Uh huh.
at like as I said, I can change the actions that characters take and you will insert a different theme
It will
in
change. You
into
didn't. I didn't
your.
insert shit.
No, you inserted it.
If George R.
It's
R.
your
Martin
interpretation
changes
of
what
the
Damon does, if George R. R. Martin changes what Damon does, he has
or if
changed
just the
the theme.
showrunners do it.
If the showrunners do it, they changed the theme. They didn't insert a theme. The theme is, as I said, and as you said, omnipresent. But it
It
can
is. It's
change.
omnipresent because you can't just get rid of a theme. It just exists. And if you decide the character is going to behave in a different way, the theme will change. But that's not because you decided to change the themes. It's because you decided to change a character's action.
Right, and that could cause cracks. It could cause fractures here. It could cause me to like it less because they did a bad job. It could cause fracturing. I'm not saying themes are always good. I'm not saying they're always properly applied. I'm not saying that every uh, thing with a theme is good. I'm saying they are so omnipresent that they ought to be thought of first.
I'm saying they're so omnipresent
That
that
you
they
don't
don't
need
even need to
them.
be thought of
Fine, then
because they will arise anyway. And we
we have
now
come
have
to the
come to our
crux.
impasse.
We have come to the crux where I have suggested that they are so omnipresent that you need to deal with them, and you are suggesting because they are so omnipresent, they can be ignored.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, what if I want a specific theme to be portrayed to the audience? I need
Oh,
to wrangle
someone's at
it.
the door. I
Okay.
just need a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm probably just gonna edit all this out. I wonder. Yeah, we had a chatter last time for live girls in your city. It was pretty lame. I was excited too because I went and looked at it, looked right at it. Thought, ooh, I wonder who's chatting at us, and it was nobody, and that made me sad because I really wanted somebody to chime in here, tell me a thing, but it didn't happen. Someday, maybe, maybe. My hair's a mess. Oh, I'm all over the place. Anyway, my name is Waldo. Generally, I'm on the left. Modular has been a person a real life friend of mine that I've been talking to for years on the right. So give me a like or subscribe. God, unsubscribe. Yes, undo the subscribe button and hit the thumbs down and do not follow. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. What else we got? Got this. And let's go back into themes, I think. I think they're so omnipresent that you got to wrangle them. That's what I'm going to tell. And the War of the Roses is the theme. It's just the idea. This is supposed to be about woke media. Someday we'll get to it. Whether or not woke Disney is a thing. Someday, perhaps. I'll get him to tell me about wokeism. I think we're zeroing in on it. We've set the stage quite well to what is and isn't woke Disney. I'm gonna have to kill it off soon because I have to eat lunch. I still like this drawing. I think this is good. Maybe I should turn them to look at each other. Rearrange them somehow. Don't think so though. Without anybody to talk to, I'm just sitting here by myself talking to myself, which isn't much fun. It's very difficult. When you watch the other YouTubers, they're always looking at chat, but I don't have any of those yet. So I got nobody to talk to.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, it's almost 1 o'clock, so we're gonna have to wrap it up soon. I gotta eat lunch, do housework.
Sure.
But I think where we left off was the our crux where we come to the end is I think that theme is omnipresent and needs to be wrangled by a creator or a writer to tell the story they want to tell.
Okay.
And your view would be that it is so omnipresent that you don't need to worry about it? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, pretty
I don't want to
much.
put the words in your mouth, but I want to just make sure that I'm
I'll take
understanding.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I think themes have a certain place, but they really don't. If you're gonna write a good story, then the themes will arise from that. You don't have to really consider them to begin with, unless you want to send a certain message. Then a good story can be told without having themes in mind first. Yes.
Okay. Um, okay. That's how you would like writers to do it. You want writers to build from here up
Yeah, I
and
want them
up.
to be gardeners. I don't want them to be uh architects.
Okay. And when I, as a very basic writer, create this from here up, it's not going to be appreciated by the fans
Yeah, the problem is that you're gonna
because
run into to issues where you break your own rules.
how do you figure?
Well,
Because
if
I don't
you
care
are,
about logic.
yeah, like if you say that, well, let's talk about Game of Thrones, the original series.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
The
one of the
teleporting.
things that
Okay.
exactly
We
we've established
yeah
it takes months and months to go from one place to another,
yeah.
and they spend several episodes traveling
Mm-hmm.
in the early seasons, and
Mm-hmm.
the early seasons are great. But then you get to the later seasons and people are teleporting everywhere. You've broken an established rule.
Hmm.
And that really sort of starts to put holes in, as you're doing with your logic. It puts holes in your show overall. Like, how is it possible that you went from here to here in this much time?
Hmm.
Or why is it that you were able to go from here to here in this much time, but then when it came time to, save whoever, it took you a month to get there instead.
Hmm.
It you've established rules in your series that need to be upheld, or else people are like, "What the fuck?"
Okay. Yeah, I agree that that is an issue that a writer and a creator would bump into. That they ought to do a better job on that. But the theme of uh, Cersei wanting to kill her brothers, um, and hiring Braun to do it, and then the writing of the scene, even if it were bad and without logical together, this wouldn't be a great show. I agree. If you don't have all the parts, it's not as good.
But also, well, yeah, exactly. It doesn't make
If
sense.
yeah, Braun is exactly the right character to be carrying out that mission, is he not? He has specifically, I mean, was Braun acting logically consistent? I think he was. He has specifically said to Tyrion, word for word, hey, I will do whatever you want as long as you're paying me properly. And Cersei is offering him more money. And um, Tyrion is a traitor to the crown and an apostate, and he's thrown out, and he has no money, he has no resources, he has nothing. So
I
Braun,
forget, what does Cersei actually promise Bronn in return?
uh, um, power, money, more political connections. He was already made a house of they gave him a name too, right? He became Braun of
Yeah,
the
he
Blackwater or
got like
something like
a
that.
castle or something like that.
And his
Um,
yeah, and he got a piece of land, and he
well,
got a actual like flag, if I remember correctly. They made a chain.
well, here's
Uh,
the thing though, is Bronn's behavior in that scenario still didn't make sense
how do you figure?
because,
I think it did.
well, first of all, how the hell did he get into that room where they were together, right? Because
Oh,
that's
okay,
never
okay, okay.
established.
No, I'm talking not
And
not
then,
not how to get to Winterfell. I'm saying, is he the right character for Cersei to turn to kill these two people? Is it within? I
possibly,
think so. I think that's entirely within Bronn's character. He has
it's
specifically
within his
said,
character to do
"I
something
will
like that,
turn on you."
except that, is it within character for Cersei to be so dumb that she would hire Bronn to do this, knowing that Tyrion would probably just be like, "Well, if I win, I'll give you Storm's End." Like, that is a weird moment. I think it's one that I would have to revisit again, and I really have no interest in watching that season of Game of Thrones, to be honest with you. Um, which one was that? 7 or 8? I forget.
That was
Um,
around 8. Yeah.
yeah, I really have no interest in watching that again. But I think it would happen in season 7 actually, because season 8 um was mostly exposition followed by the long night in episode 3. But
Okay. Yeah.
still,
So,
season 7 was not great either.
but okay. All
And
right.
Braun, how did he get there? And then when he with the fucking crossbow from Joffrey, like, little over the top. Uh, if he was gonna kill somebody, why did he bother? Like, he had the drop off on them, obviously. Why didn't he just do it? He's a sellsword. If he was gonna do it, he would have done it. And then they talk about it, and he basically threatens them, and Tyrion tells him that
He's gonna pay him
he'll
more.
give them, he'll pay him even more if they win. But I don't know if Bronn's the kind of guy that would go for that, because he's kind of a bird in hand kind of guy.
Uh, okay.
So none of that made sense. But then on top of that, he also managed to, I believe, escape without any consequence, even though he
Yeah,
just
and then
threatened
he's just gone. I agree.
the Lannister
There's
brothers and disappears.
there's
Like none of
holes
it
in the
makes
logic.
sense.
There's bad writing. It might have gone against the character, and the
But
theme
hey, you got
has
your themes.
holes. No, I don't. The themes don't even work.
Well, your themes were where Cersei wants to kill her brothers or whatever it was you just
That's
said
a
earlier.
theme.
Yeah,
Cersei would like to kill her brothers,
it's
and the person she goes to is the sellsword, and uh, if that all doesn't work, it all tumbles down. I mean, it wasn't very good. I agree. It has holes all over, and it has giant glaring cracks and holes, so it's not very good.
Do you think that a writer can make good themes without thinking about them? Like if they make a really strong female character, do you think that the feminist theme that arises from that is deliberate, or do you
Unless
think that that's
unless
possible to do?
unless the human being is a really strong human female, then they would have to create a theme of some sort. Yes. If you were, if I wrote a story about a 6'3" white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes, um, I might not be creating the theme. Does that make sense?
Right, you can write it about him without thinking about the theme
Without thinking
as your
about the themes.
primary
Yes. But when I go
thing
to
there.
create characters, who does that character interact with? I would have to start creating themes.
No, you wouldn't. That's still themes, or that's still characters. So you
Okay,
create other
so well,
characters, and they interact with the character you've already created. Those are
characters
character interactions,
characters
and as long as
also.
those characters have their own motivations, and then they
How do I create a
behave in a way
motivation?
that's consistent.
How do I create a
Well,
motivation
people
without a
have
theme?
motivations.
How do I
That's
create a motivation without a theme? That doesn't even make sense. How do I create a motivation for uh, I don't know, something
a
that I'm not?
motivation might be I really care about my family. Um, I want to make sure that people are happy and safe. I maybe I'm motivated in terms of I want power. I want to sit on the throne.
Okay,
I want to maybe I'm vengeful. Maybe I really hate this other person. I really want them dead,
you,
and or I want to fuck them over as hard as I can.
you just listed a
That
whole
could be
bunch
a
of themes.
motivation. Those are character motivations.
And if those motivations are connected to their character and the reason they want to do the thing, it becomes a theme.
A theme arises from those things.
Mm, theme arises from those things. In reality, themes arise from the people and the things they do. In writing fiction, you have to create the theme first.
Well,
You
see,
have to.
this is where we're getting to where I've already said this before, but my point was that
And
any good piece of writing, any good story is really just a documentary of a fictional world.
and
You make the
I
setting and you write the documentary, and then the themes arise from that.
that's not how people write things. And the things that
Hey,
you do
I'm a
like,
writer too. Get
and
out
the
of here.
things that you do like haven't been written that way.
They absolutely have.
I don't think so. The theme will guide you toward creating moments that engage readers.
Um, define.
I think that you have noticed the themes of current media. I think you have noticed the themes of writers, bad writers. I agree. Uh, if a writer is bad, their themes stick out, and it hits you in the face, and you don't like it, which leads us to wokeism and the Disney than the people who don't like Disney anymore because they're woke. Because these people who are screaming about woke Disney comprehend the themes that are being put in front of them. They see the theme of equality. They see the theme of uh, gay equality. They see the theme of, hey, LGBTQ people are people and ought to be treated as people, and they do not like this theme. This
Okay,
theme
so hold on. I think
suddenly makes them unhappy.
I may have found the divide here
Mm-hmm.
because I really like character-driven stories,
Okay.
and you really like plot-driven stories.
Well, no, the theme isn't a plot. Plot is
Well, look up the
these two
definitions
things
between
added
the two.
together. Okay.
Look up character-driven versus plot-driven writing.
Okay. We might have to do that at a different time.
Yep, I'm good to call it here.
When you combine these two, you get a plot. So that's what I'm saying. Is yes, I would prefer the plot driven. Themes and characters
I
together make a plot.
prefer character-driven.
Okay, that's
And
fine.
if characters behave in a way that's consistent with the way that they should and consistent with the rules of the setting that we've established, then
Uh-huh.
you get a character-driven story.
I can recognize character driven stories. I mean, the old Fantastic Four was character driven, and if you made the Fantastic Four character driven, it would be good. That's fine, but that also, I mean, character driven is also a theme because again, themes are omnipresent.
Yeah, themes arise from a character-driven story, whereas a plot-driven story is going to have themes influencing it in the beginning, which is how your pyramid works.
I disagree
Yeah,
with that
my
sentence
pyramid is
entirely as well. Okay, we're we've gone on too long. We're supposed to be talking about
all right, man.
wokeism, but we have again gone down to the definitional term of what these words mean, which I think is what's going to happen just every time. We're going to change the name of the stream to definitions, uh, and their definitions. The definition of definitions. There we go.
I think it's important to sort of flesh these things out
I think
because
I think everything has to end that way, and I'll draw a different drawing next time about why we keep coming to this thing, because I've got a drawing to explain that as well on why we
well,
keep bumping into each
what
other.
topic do you want to discuss next week?
Um, I don't know. It's a political stream. We'll do the news, and then we'll find a uh, idea that we should discuss.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like oh, excuse me. Um, like I mentioned earlier, I'd like to, be able to look into what it is I'm talking
Yeah, yeah.
about
Okay, okay,
before we
okay.
talk about it. So, like, if you want to do gun control or mental health or healthcare or fuck, what else did we talk about?
Um,
Uh,
and
anyone, any of
the
those
reason we
kind of
keep coming
things.
back to this one is because I think that the Republicans are only interested in culture war. They do not talk policy. They do not talk what they want to do with the country. They just do culture war all day, every day, nonstop. And things like, I mean, Republicans don't run on what they're going to do about the laws and the idea of governance. They don't govern. They just talk culture war and how they're going to stop the culture war. Um, maybe we look at Ron DeSantis since he's got Florida and the Stop Woke bill, and I think he has actually changed Florida voting law since he got in charge.
I'm down to talk about culture war stuff.
Okay,
Um,
which is how we keep trying to get to. We keep talking about culture war, and instead of we go do House of the Dragon. Okay, so yeah, culture war. Let's do culture war stuff.
um, what kind of culture war stuff are we talking about for next week?
I'm going to look at Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis and the things that he's done in the Stop Woke Act and the things that he has done in Florida that he will probably do to the entire country if he's elected
Okay.
as president. I mean,
I'm gonna look at some, I think, some overarching uh, themes, if you will,
hmm they
uh,
are omnipresent.
as they exist in the nation,
Okay,
and I'll bring those up.
okay,
And
cool.
but I will definitely have to read up on Florida and what's going on there.
Oh yeah, I'll bring some stuff. I think he has actually made changes to their election laws, uh, which I think that he would then, assuming that he gets elected president, pass for the entire country.
Okay.
And some we'll throw in some wokeism and uh, maybe whether or not Disney's woke. And maybe we'll get to the end of this writer's idea. Because if I understand correctly, you're suggesting that because writers start with themes, it's becoming woke.
Well, they're starting with woke themes, and then they manage to fuck up the writing so that it looks shitty,
Okay. And I kind of
and it
think you're right,
comes out bad.
but I also think it's a good idea. So,
Okay.
okay. All right. That is all we're going to do today, and I will bring it to a close. As always, my name is Waldo. This is my tech support. His name is Jake. He does tech support for me. And Module, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And
And you as well.
call it off for today. All right.